Yo, nation. So Ben Johnson seems to be a lock for the Las Vegas Raiders. Or is there a 1A and a 1B? Pete Carroll spent most of the day in the facility with the Las Vegas Raiders. We'll break it all down. Let's talk about it. Are the Raiders making a huge mistake putting all their eggs in one basket with Ben Johnson and letting everybody know, that is their guy? We will also break that down on Raiders Unleashed.
I was born to be a Raider. 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 Win, lose it, Raiders till I die. Ain't nobody even with us, cause in the field we trust, just like Townsend came through crushing it up. You know it's R-A-I-D-E-R-S. Other teams in the land, but we controlling the West. I was born to be a Raider since I come to the womb. I'ma die being a Raider laid up in the tomb. My blood color black and my veins stay silver. Every tailgate I'm paid to pray for the liver. Raider Red super fan, Mariachi band, DJs, Mike Dre. It's a give it to the fans. The thing out in Oakland, thing out in Vegas. Always Raider Nation and they still going hater. But like we always say, homie, G. Only one nation, Raider Nation. Lighting up the torch at least a game time. Take a record, records, mad packs, record spines. Grimfo, catch a best that nobody can imagine. I can see LeVon, Del Davis, John Madden. Fresh Raider jersey, fresh 501s. Let me really show you fools how the West was won. Raider Nation, not to mention always imitated. Never duplicated, can't nobody ever fake it.
Raider. What's good? What's good? Salute my nation. The Raiders. All the talk is on Ben Johnson. They said it couldn't be done, but man, can it possibly be done? We will break it down. Also, like I said, Pete Carroll spent the day with the Las Vegas Raiders in the facility. If Tom Brady liked the conversation with Ben Johnson about football, just imagine the stories and, what Pete Carroll could tell about football to Tom Brady. That conversation, if you could only be a fly on the wall to hear those two great minds talk football, would, just be an absolute treat. Also, Chef, what's good, my guy? There are some rumors going around and some people very upset with Tom Brady getting to call the Lions game coming up, on Sunday, Saturday, whatever day it is. And a lot of people's got their panties in a bunch because he works for Fox and he is, minority owner with the Las Vegas Raiders. We knew this was going to be a problem, and it seems like it's starting to be a growing problem. Um, you know, Ben Johnson met with the Chicago Bears. Reports are it did not go as good as the interview did in Las Vegas. So, that's a big plus to us. But we also have to worry about one thing that keeps coming to mind for me is, last year I do believe it was the Washington Commanders where everybody was saying, Ben Johnson was a lock. He was going there. And then, he kept them dangling on a string and then decided he was going back to the Detroit Lions. So, man, if that scenario happens, the Raiders putting all their eggs in one basket, and are all the coaches going to be gone? So Pete Carroll, I do believe, has an interview with the Chicago Bears coming up, and with the recent firings in Dallas, we will get to that. Deion Sanders, we'll talk about that. But could Pete Carroll, you know, be one of those guys to get an interview in Dallas and let those two older guys pick each other's brain? Would be another a great position for Pete Carroll to be in Dallas with the weapons they have. A pretty good draft pick. Another story to watch. So I'm kind of worried. Reports are Salah has had an interview in Jacksonville. I think that went very, very well. So a lot of these coaches might, be off the board by the time we decide what we're doing, who we're doing it with, how we're doing it. But all reports are, so far it looks like Ben Johnson is the guy. Let me know if y'all can hear me. I'm just talking to myself. I don't even know if y'all can hear me. You can see me, all that good stuff. Salute, salute. Appreciate y'all pulling up. I want the Lions to win the Super Bowl. They want to be a great time to move for Ben Johnson. Yeah, but I mean, damn, if they're in the Super Bowl, that means we're waiting until what do we have to wait? Three days after their final game? I mean, damn, when's the Super Bowl? February 9th? That puts us at the 12th before we could even interview him again. That puts us somewhere mid February by the time we decide who our head coach is, with free agency and the draft right around the corner. So, I mean, that's a scary situation to me. I hope the Lions lose next week, like, and then we can interview Ben Johnson and just get it over with if that's the guy. But you know, are the Raiders showing their hand gonna hurt them in the long run? Because no pun intended, we are in Vegas, but it seems like they're showing their cards, or is it just reports? Because everybody said Vrabel was the guy if Antonio Pierce was out. Vrabel never even got an interview. There was other people saying that they had people in the building that knew what was going on, and they said Vrabel was the guy guaranteed if AP was out. So those reports are wrong. I think the Raiders and Tom Brady, with Tom Brady coming in the building, whether you like I'm not calling it the Brady way no more or the Patriot way no more. I think it's more like the Brady way. I think the Patriot way, you know, is done with him, obviously, or he would have brought in Vrabel and did whatever he could to get Belichick. So I think they're moving on with that. Kudos to Mark Davis for not wanting anything to do with the Patriot way no more, because I'm sure as many Raider fans, I don't want anything to do with the Patriot way. So I'm sure y'all feel the same way. Um, but yeah, so I mean, what y'all got to say? What's y'all thoughts? Let's get into this real quick before I get too far. Longer wait. I hear you, Rick. What's up? Don't want Ben Johnson to have unfinished business. I mean, yeah, but I don't see it as unfinished business. He turned that team around. They went from 1-13. The next year, I don't know what their record was. He wasn't the OC, but when he took over the OC in 2022, I think they went 12-5, and then this year 14-2. So yeah, they're definitely on the upward spiral. And you're right. Maybe if they don't win the Super Bowl, maybe he stays. Maybe he pulls the same thing he did last year with the Washington Commanders. I do believe. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but maybe he pulls that same thing. I don't know. But I'm just worrying about, Vrabel was gone. A lot of these coaches, Pete Carroll taking an interview in Chicago. He's got to be top on their list if the Ben Johnson interview didn't go very well. And, I've talked about that on this channel before. I was one of those guys that saying we have no chance of getting Ben Johnson because I believe they were going to keep Tom Telesco. But when they made the right move and finally decided to listen to me, I'm just kidding. But, got their head in the right place and decided to move on from AP and Tom Telesco and, bring in somebody that has his own vision with his, own GM, if that's the way he's going, or, get together and collaborate on a GM. And I think that's a big, big factor. Everybody's talking about the Tom Brady factor, but I think the fact that the Chicago Bears have a GM and it doesn't look like they're moving on from that GM anytime soon. And, there's only one other team I do believe in the NFL that is looking for, interviewing Ben Johnson that doesn't have a GM. So that gives us an upper leg. Brock Bowers, should be rookie of the year, in my opinion, with all the records he broke. We'll get into that later. But with the weapons they have on this team and, the guys you have on defense that you can bring back are guys that are, still signed to contracts, it, it's a lot. It's a lot. Definitely, the no tax thing in Vegas, if you're signed to a big contract, but also with, Ben Johnson getting these other interviews and the Raiders letting everybody know, or, the Raiders reporters, and so the in-house guys or whatever's going on over there. But, the big time reporters are pretty much saying that Ben Johnson's number one. And if he wants the job is his, which I don't know how good that is for the Raiders because what are these other guys going to offer him? They're going to offer him some crazy amount. Does that up the price for us in the long run? Or are they just playing games and say, all right, well, let's just guess what the Raiders are going to offer him and, make a deal he can't refuse. And then he's going to go to the Raiders and be like, well, damn, I was offered this, which I know you can't offer anything until the season's over, but who's going to be, you know, can they plan interviews? That's another thing I've been trying to find out is I know we can only do Zoom calls. We can't do, in-person interviews unless they're not playing with a team that's in the playoffs. But after the Zoom call, can you set up another meeting or do you have to wait to find out, if they're losing or winning or when they lose to set up the meeting? How does that work? So is there another meeting already scheduled? Whew, sorry, my mouth is getting dry, bro. Um, what else we got? Things are getting interesting. I understand Carroll's getting old, and I know that's probably not the long term. And, like you said, maybe Ben Johnson has unfinished business, and, maybe he's like, damn, give me a year or two, and then I'll come to the Raiders. I mean, I don't know. They could work out a deal for later down the road. Who knows? And let Pete Carroll, come in and try to change things for a year or two. But I know the man's 73 years old. But you've seen the man out there throwing footballs, running up and down the sidelines, working out with these guys. That dude is a very healthy 70 years old. Like that dude is probably healthier than me at 49. So I don't see health being an issue right away, and especially there's a lot of coaches that coached way past that. I mean, look, Al Davis was involved until he was gone. So no, he wasn't on the sideline coaching and traveling with the team and all that, but I mean, so it can be done. And 5 years, I think at his age, I'm sure he could coach another 5 years if they want to do that. We'll give you a 3-year guaranteed, and then if you want to keep coaching after that, we'll let you keep coaching. But I really feel that all the eggs are pretty much in one basket right now. Raider Allegiance, what's good, my guy? Appreciate you pulling up. Yeah, I think they have, like I said, all their cards on the table for Ben Johnson. And I talked about it before with Spytech in the building, with the relationship that he has with Tom Brady, with the knowledge that those three have, is it's definitely a dream team of upper management and head coach. And just those three guys in the pool they have, who could they possibly bring in as offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator? I mean, the names are probably limitless for Tom Brady and the people that he knows as long as he's been in the business. So, man, what you want? I'm totally in Pete Carroll. Still skeeting babies. Hey, right? If you can still skeet babies, bro, you can still coach. I mean, like 100%. So I think he's got plenty of years in him, and I don't think Pete Carroll would take the job or interview for the job if he didn't think he could do it for another couple years. And of course, at that age, anything could happen, especially with all the viruses and shit going on nowadays. You really never know. But yeah, bro, if you're still skeeting, I mean, at that age, right? He's got that Belichick, 2025, what 2025-year-old girl. Like, if you that age and you got a 25-year-old girl, bro, you're staying plenty healthy. I guarantee you. I guarantee you. Unless somebody else is making her happy, which, that could always happen. So my point is, I know they don't have a lot of names, and I'm hoping that maybe there are some other names that come out after some of these games are done, maybe, somebody in the Packers organization, somebody in the Rams organization I've been talking about, especially the way the Rams are playing. We'll get to the playoffs here in a little bit and, break that down, see what y'all think about that. But, there are a couple of teams that still have, you know, decent GMs, decent offensive coordinators, some damn good, quarterback coaches out there, some quarterback coaches that have been on the Raiders. So I can't wait, bro. I really just want them to hire somebody so we can figure out who the staff is going to be. This waiting around shit like we did at least last year, it didn't take very long. The coaching search was pretty limited, and they pretty much had AP as a lock. And I'm hoping that's the situation this time. That's why I'm praying that the Detroit Lions lose, bro. I really want to see the Lions, and I would love to see them win a Super Bowl. But can y'all do it next year? Like, can you wait till Ben Johnson leaves? Because I'm sure they got plenty of people behind him. Been sitting there training, waiting to. Yeah, but Mark Skill's got. Damn, Lawrence, that's jacked. All right, I gotta put this up. So my man says, yeah, but Mark's girls got Adam's apples. Oh no, 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 no. All I gotta say to that is yeah, well, maybe Mark could hook him up with some of them 20-year-old he-she's that he hangs out with. I don't know. You see, I'm not even go there, but you see the way Tom Brady always putting his hands on Mark. I'm just saying. All the rumors about what? There's going to be mad rumors. It's the NFL. There's, especially this time of year, there's going to be crazy rumors. Everybody has a take, everybody has an inside source, everybody has a view. But at this point, I'm just hoping that if it is Ben Johnson, that he's not another Josh McDaniels. And y'all could be pissed at me, and if he turns out to be crap, be like, it's all Raider Rebels' fault. He did it. But that's fine. That's fine. I'll take the rap. But I'm just saying, bro. Josh McDaniels was a damn good offensive coordinator. The Patriots were good before Tom Brady took over. With Drew Bledsoe, they were still a damn good team. Once they got rid of him, that team fell apart. So that man cannot coach to save his ass. He's a damn good offensive coordinator. He runs a pretty good system if you give him time to build it and get the quarterback and the guys he wants around him, which I'm not praising Josh McDaniels. I'm just saying, like, we seen what he did with the Patriots. And yes, it was Belichick and the players and the organization, giving them the players. But Ben Johnson has the same thing, right? He took over in 2022. Most of those guys were on the roster. St. Brown at wide receiver. The other wide receiver, I can't think of the top of my head. They traded for Goff. They drafted Gibbs. So a lot of those guys were already there, and they were set up to win. Yes, it's his offense, but how much of his offense is it really? Which really scares me. Yeah, they won, but is it us giving too much credit to Ben Johnson and his offense, and not giving enough credit to Dan Campbell, for turning the culture around, for getting people to buy into a system, to believe in the system when they were 1-13 when he started out. So I question that shit too. What's my guy Lawrence say over here laughing? Tom's been to Diddy parties. Damn the smoke. Come on, man. Don't be oiling Tom Brady up. He got enough rings, bro. He don't need he don't need your baby oil. And if that's the case, man, I don't think so. I hope if they let him be part organization that they did a real good background search because man, with all the people coming out that's been to those parties and now with the fires in California and you know people's houses burning down that were involved in a lot of that shit, bro, that would be horrible for us, bro. We couldn't. Come on, Rick. Why you gonna put that out there? We and Lawrence, we don't need no more scandals, bro. I just want to get back to the playoffs. I'm getting old. We're all getting old, and we all want to get back to the playoffs. And if you want to get back to the playoffs, all we could do is right here. Trust the process. Oh, trust accountability process. But yeah, trust the process. I mean, that's all we can do at this point is hope these guys make the right decision. And like I said, with Spy Tech and the, as far as he goes back with Tom Brady and the organizations he's been involved in and the guys he's helped bring in, the players he's helped bring in, the way where their cap sits, I think the Raiders are making the right moves, and it's got to be mostly accredited to Tom Brady. As as much as I hate to say it, I need a drink after saying that. Damn it, it really hurts. It really hurts to say that if we are successful, it's going to be mostly accredited to Tom Brady, right? Richard Seymour in the building, but the guys that Tom Brady's bringing in, and you know, bringing in Jed Hughes, the Cupid of coaching and GM. So it's gonna be a fun roller coaster ride, to say the least, bro. To say the least. He was deflating footballs like Gronk rubbed Diddy oil on his back. Whatever they do behind the scenes, bro, as long as it gets us Super Bowl wins, I'm good, bro. I'm good. They can diddy up each other. They can rub on each other. They can do whatever they want to. Keep me out that shit. Keep me out. Keep it out of the nation. Just keep us out of the news. Keep it hidden, which obviously they don't work too well. So, Colby, my guy, what's good? What's good? Appreciate you pulling up. Deflating footballs. That's another thing, man. We'll bring this up since you had to say deflating footballs. Tampering. Don't want to leave it up there too long because it looks bad. Could there be, a case where these teams are trying to screw the shit out of us because they know Tom Brady is working for Fox? And I've been looking at the rules and I don't see anywhere on there that it says, talking to another agent. So with Tom Brady talking to Ben Johnson's agent, bro, this could put us in a bad situation if they went around about it the wrong way. A lot of reports are Ben Johnson wasn't even on the radar to come in and interview until Tom Brady talked to his agent. A lot of people are complaining, Tom Brady's going to have to, which I don't know why people are complaining about this because as far as I'm concerned and read, Tom Brady is not allowed to sit in the interviews or the team meetings with the Fox crew when they do all that stuff. So how's that going to be involved? The only thing is his commentating is him being biased, and I don't know. I don't see why he wouldn't, be able to not be biased because I see Tom Brady as hopefully having integrity. And if Ben Johnson's doing shitty and their offense is sucking in the Lions game, I hope he says something and points it out and doesn't, just sit there and try to fluff the dude up. like, but he might just be sitting there gassing him up, and that's going to look bad too. So we've talked about that on this channel a couple times. Is how big of a part is Tom Brady, being on Fox and being involved in this shit gonna matter? Um, Damn it! What was I just talking about? I was gonna read something, but I don't know where the hell it went. Damn it. Well, anyways, there was a report out saying what the fuck? I don't even know what the hell I was gonna say. Well, screw that because I don't even know what the hell the report was. I can't find it. Raiders. That's what I'm talking about. Tony Chef in the building. What's good, my guy? Appreciate you pulling up. What's good? What's good? Oh man, before I go any farther, too, like everybody in the chat, bro. You know, even if you don't pray and you're not religious, whatever it is you do, just say something to whoever it is you speak to about California, bro. This shit is getting wild. The winds are back, the fires are breaking out more and more. There's hundreds of, thousands of people displaced on the streets. Uh, no power, no phone because they got no, can't charge their batteries, can't get a hold to family. So this shit is absolute crazy. So if y'all could put, prayers in the chat, I'd appreciate it. Because man, that California is my home state, and for those of y'all that are out there, if you're anywhere near the fires, bro, what the hell are you doing there? And if you have the money, pack your shit, take what you can, and go, bro. Because they're with 19% of it contained. I mean, people think it's not bad and it's not going to reach them, but this shit, fire moves fast. As a dude that had his house burned down and crawled out of a house fire, twice because like a dumbass, I went back in to get my dog. Fire moves dramatically fast, and there's a YouTuber I watched that that smokes trees and shit on there. And dude was saying it was 20 minutes from his house like 2 days ago, and now he just went on and said he could see that shit from his window, and he's packing up and leaving. So like who knows if his house is even there. So man, this shit it moves rapidly. They got firefighters coming in from everywhere that can't even get gas because the gas is turned off, because the chance of explosions. So bro, California is bad, bad. And if there was anything I could do, bro, I'd do it in a minute. But if anybody can help, they need absolutely everything: food, batteries, clothes, power cords. So man, yeah, shout out to California. Our prayers are definitely definitely with you. And like I said, if you have family there, man, contact them, get a hold of them, make sure they're okay, make sure they're all right. What else in the news? What else are I going to talk about? Oh yeah, so as far as the coaching search, Mike Tomlin has come on and made it very very clear: do not reach out, do not try to get that man. He is not going anywhere. He is focused on next season and the Steelers, and it looks like that man's going to retire there, bro. He's not giving that job up. So, look for the Steelers to if they don't decide to keep one of these quarterbacks to possibly try to creep up in this draft somehow for the first time and steal a quarterback. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. Let me know in the chat. Y'all think they keep Justin Fields? You think they keep Russell Wilson? You think they move on from both of these guys, try to go in the draft or free agency, which, I mean, I don't, they're both free agents, so I don't know who you're going to keep and who you're going to let go. But the Steelers are in a rough spot. We said, all year in the Raider Nation, if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have one, right? That's the Madden saying. If you have two quarterbacks, you don't have one. And they've had two quarterbacks all year. And a lot of people thought they probably should have went with Justin Fields because he was playing damn good football. And obviously they didn't want to give up a fourth round pick instead of a sixth round pick. So they decided to bench the man. That's another aspect is, man, I really want this coaching search to be narrowed down so we can figure out where we're going with quarterback, what we're doing at running back, what we're doing with these free agents, the staff that's still on the roster. Antonio Pierce's son is still is still on the Raiders website, which is crazy. Like, when are they going to let these guys go and let them know that y'all don't have a job? I want a BJ in Vegas too. I've had a couple there before, but they weren't from hookers. I lived there for a long time, so probably more than a couple. But yeah, everybody wants a BJ in Vegas, right? Who doesn't want a BJ in Vegas? Ben Johnson is a star, right? It's the talk of the head coaching thing. At least everybody thinks. And I pray, bro. I pray just like the prayers in the chat for California that Ben Johnson is that guy and it's not just a fluke and another one of these offensive coordinators that get a head coaching job and just don't know how to talk to people, don't know how to engage with people, which I don't see that. It looks like, the Lions offense is very, very tight. Looks like that, that organization is like a brotherhood. Ray Love in the building, my guy. What's good? What's good? Appreciate you pulling up. Yeah, I know he's going to say that. I mean, they drafted Kenny Pickett a couple years ago. He just didn't work out. I mean, he didn't. He did get him to the playoffs, right? So they were kind of rough on him. They didn't really have a number one receiver, in my opinion. They had a run game. Their offensive line was sus. He did pretty good in Philadelphia when he was a backup. For a couple. Chris Raider was good. Chris for Raiders, appreciate you. I thought the dude did pretty decent. So I didn't think it was worth a Kenny Pickett was worth a first round pick whatsoever, in my opinion. But I could be wrong. It's happened before. But I mean, when you have a chance to get a Russell Wilson for $1 million, you would think every team in the NFL, all 32, would have been jumping on that. And instead, a bunch of teams passed. And, he might not have played great in the playoffs, but I thought Russell Wilson did damn good for what they were paying him. I mean, where are you going to find a quarterback for $1 million with that much knowledge, experience, a Super Bowl ring, could have been two, to come in and even if he was a backup for the whole year, just the knowledge and his experience on the sideline helps the shit out of any team in the NFL. And I made videos about it. I'm sure most of y'all watched them. I don't know why the Raiders didn't take a chance, and I don't know why a lot of other teams didn't take a chance. But I think that's the reason why they got rid of Pickett is they're like, man, if we can bring in Russell Wilson for nothing, they were going to have to pay Kenny Pickett a whole lot of money that, not a whole lot, but more than they were willing to pay. And then you got Justin Fields that, I mean, come on. Teams, I don't know how you can watch Justin Fields and say he's not worth a sixth round pick the following year. Like that was wild to me that teams would just pass on that, even if you use them in goal line situations, or anything. You could, run option, college or high school plays options at the goal line with them. Just his ability to run the ball, if you had a pocket passer and his presence on the team, I thought would have been damn good. And we've seen the Steelers did, once in a while they'd put them in certain run situations or, 3rd and 1. Hit them likes. Yes, appreciate y'all. Hit them likes. He's not worth a ham sandwich. He was worth that 1.4 million. I totally disagree with that. Or 1.2, whatever. Come on, bro. We paid Gardner Minshew $24 million to throw 16 interceptions and fumble 3 times. Like, I would have paid Russell Wilson double that, triple that, any of that. Like, shout out, go follow New England Raider boosters. I'm sure most of y'all do. They're coming here anyways, but I always got to say it. Help my guy. Think the Donkeys paid Russell Wilson 40 mil and 24. Yeah. Didn't they pay him more than that? Wasn't they had on the books for like 240 mil? And they had to eat most of that to let him go? That was crazy. But they ended up getting a damn good rookie quarterback that, making up for it. They're not going to have to pay for a while, right? That was Telesco's mess up. He likes certain QBs. I don't know if it was, Telesco mess up or Antonio Pierce. I know Hondo had reported that Russell Wilson did come in for an interview, but it was supposed to be an all day meeting and it lasted 2 hours. So I don't know if Russell Wilson said this is not my thing and dipped, or if it was on the coaches. We need a refund for Minshew. That's not gonna happen, bro. I told you we paid him $1 million an interception. Nothing wrong with that, right? That's good money. That's good work. Uh so as far as that, I guess we'll move on to the next topic, wherever the hell it went. I don't know why he's going away. Deion Sanders. No, has nothing to do with us. But do you think this man ends up in Dallas? I said like 2 months ago when everybody was saying, Deion Sanders to the Raiders. I was like, if there's any NFL team he goes to, it's got to be the Cowboys. I mean, he played there, bro. He played there. He played there. Like, that was their guy. He gets along with Jerry Jones. And if anybody can be like, yo, I'm not listening to you, old man. I'm doing shit my way, is Deion Sanders. He has that swag. And I think that's a perfect fit if he decides to leave college. Bro, Deion Sanders to the Cowboys. Take Shador if you can get him. Move up, which I don't know if the Cowboys are willing to move up, but where they're sitting, what, 12 or 15? I mean, they could possibly move up. They have, what, Diggs is a free agent. Oh, so I guess you can't trade him. But I don't know when he becomes a free agent, but you might want to trade him quick. But I mean, they have pieces. Jerry Jones has the money. I think it'd be crazy for Deion Sanders to leave Colorado, especially with all those recruits that he's had coming in. It would be, I think it'd be wrong. I think his place is with those kids, but him in Dallas just makes a lot of sense. I think you can talk Jerry Jones into drafting both of your kids, and I've said it plenty of times. The only way Deion Sanders was coming to the NFL is if it was a package deal with his kids. Smoke them if you got them. What do you say? Oh no, week is on Tuesday. I know. I think it's in the air, bro. I don't know if it's the cold or what's going on, but everybody's been complaining about being tired, bro. Maybe it's all that shit that everybody's reporting them dropping out of drones. Who knows, bro? Nation, we got to get top level quarterback this time. All right, so who is that top level quarterback? Catch back up to this chat, make. That's what I'm saying. That fake mist, the the mist in Florida. Everybody's reporting like we got snow the other day, and it was the craziest snow ever. Like if you touch it or step on it, it would like evaporate like that. But if you didn't touch it, even with the sun out beating on it, the snow didn't go nowhere, bro. It sat for like days and days. There's still snow out there, and there's been the sun out, for forever. But as soon as you touch it, it just evaporates. But if you don't touch the snow, like it's not going nowhere, which is crazy. I've been around snow most of my life, off and on, and I ain't never seen no shit like that. It melts weird. It looks weird. Smells weird. Raider Rich, what's good? What's good? Appreciate you. Too much emotions and draining life. Raider Nation. That might be it too. That could possibly be it. But man, hopefully good times are coming. Definitely, definitely coming. But who do y'all got? Free agency. Let me try to pull this up real quick. Um, Not draft. The fuck. 2005 free agent tracker. And I was looking at this today, and there's not like it's going to be a rough year for new head coaches to come in and try to build a team because there is not a lot unless you're willing to pay big time money. There's not a lot of dudes. Let's see what screen am I pulling up. Should I go or get it? I need both. Come on, man. Stop being stupid. Internet. Here we go. All right. So receivers, we have Stephon Diggs out of Houston, age 31, man. Like, I'm not I'm not going that route. I know we need veterans, but I think we're good on 31. T Higgins, 25, going to be 30. He's already getting 20 mil. He's probably going to want way more than that. I think we have too much needs to go out and get, one of these top receivers. Keenan Allen. People are talking about bringing Amari Cooper back. I mean, to me, that's just wild, especially when he went to the Buffalo Bills and had Josh Allen throwing him the ball. And a lot of people tried to say, it was Deshaun Watson over there in Cleveland. But obviously, when he went to the Buffalo Bills, I think he did worse with Buffalo than he did with Cleveland. So I'm out on Cooper. Chris Godwin is 28. Brandon Cooks is 31. Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack, let's talk about the old Mack. He doesn't know if he wants to come back and play. Would y'all let me know in the chat why for yes and for no? Would you bring back Khalil Mack to the Raiders and let him retire a Raider? I think his salary is like 19 mil a season or something right now, or that's what's on his contract. I don't know if that's what he's getting per year, which I mean, definitely you're gonna have to go lower than that. But if we bring back most of the guys we have on this defensive line, I don't see that happening. I think that's just absolute crazy talk. Cowtown Luda in the building. Yeah, not for that. Oh, he would have to be, way less. But at 33 years old, the man still has plenty of game in him. But this is the one I want to talk about. Zach Martin from Dallas. 34 years old. We have a bunch of young kids on this offensive line. And I think this man would definitely sure up a guard spot with his knowledge. I mean, the dude's been a beast the whole time he's been in the NFL, in my opinion. Pair him up, on either side of Jackson Powers Johnson, with Glaze. Maybe you get, see what Mumford has, or who knows if he's going to even be on the team when we get some new guys. But I think that's even at 34, like I said, it would bring a veteran, a little bit older than Colton Miller, would give us, a little bit stability. He seems to be, pretty healthy most of the time. So I don't know what y'all think. What's y'all's thoughts? Because looking at the guards, I mean, unless you pick a guard in the first or second round, there's not really many that you can just plug in on that offensive line that are going to be better than Parham. They might be bigger and stronger than Parham, but they're not going to be better than Parham. Or have the same, as much camaraderie with the team as Parham, and they're probably not going to be as good as Meredith. Like, I hope we keep Meredith and that dude, puts on some pounds, gets a little stronger in the weight room because I love that dude's intensity. We also signed Will Putnam to a future reserve contract, which I think is a brilliant move by the Las Vegas Raiders. I was talking about this kid all year long. Why is he on the practice squad when we're struggling with offensive linemen? And they never brought him up. And I wish they would have brought him up and let him get some play time because, I thought the man was pretty damn solid in the preseason. That's another guy we got. Deontay Johnson from Houston is 28. Left tackle Cam Robinson from Minnesota. Do you move on from Colton Miller? Do you try to go get a guy like Cam Robinson? Do you think Cam Robinson is a better tackle than Colton Miller? Let me know what y'all's thoughts is. Ray Love, what's good? Draft a stud wide receiver at 6. His name T Mac. We'll get to that here in a bit. I got the question of the day coming up. Don't worry. But I think he might be gone. He might not be gone. If we're drafting in the first round, I really dig the shit out of Trey Harris from. I mean, I don't know if he's first round worthy. We'll have to wait and see, how he does in these pro days and what he does in the Senior Bowl against all the top talent if he comes out and plays in those games. But, Trey Harris out of Ole Miss, I think that kid is a stud. Where are we at on here? Brandon Shepfer, Jacksonville, 33 years old, another guard. What's this dude look like? Anybody know this cat? Oh, I hate ads, bro. Why do I pay for this shit to go away if it doesn't go away? Oh, $13 million cap hit for them. 10 years out of Iowa. Drafted in the first round. Okay. I got no stats. I mean, damn, drafted in the first round. We need some guards that are drafted in the first round that can help us out. I'd be totally down with that. Pick up solidify the line. What the hell just happened? Solidify that offensive line in free agency, and then worry about the other needs like wide receiver, running back in the draft. What do y'all think? Come on, go away. Jesus Christ. Outside linebacker Hassan Reddick from the Jets is available. Not at that money that he just got. Yeah, there's not. I mean, damn, there's not too many people. All right, now I mess with that right there. Tavarius Ward, 29 years old, San Francisco. I think he was still like a pretty damn good lockdown corner. In my opinion, I don't know what his money is, but damn. Used to play for the Redskins. There's not too many guys on here. Joseph Notaboom. I think he's a backup, isn't he, for the Rams? He's not even a starter. Justin Reed. Sam Darnold. I think. What do y'all think about Sam Darnold stock, and how much did Sam Darnold stock drop over these last 3 games? That dude was looking at probably being the top name in the draft and, getting one of those contracts like somebody just got in the Falcons over there and Kirk Cousins. He was looking at one of them big time paydays, and probably the biggest payday that he was ever going to see in his career. Did he just squander that shit away with his performance in the last 3 weeks? Or, are people going to look at the defense and, the offensive line and how much they were blitzing? Because, man, they blitzed and blitzed and blitzed and blitzed and blitzed. And if y'all didn't believe me before when I told you to watch the offensive coordinator, Mike LaFleur, and this Rams team going to be very, very sneaky in this playoffs and beat some people, they could very well win next week and find their way sneaking up into the Super Bowl. Like this team is gritty. Their defense is nasty, and they are playing, you know, top notch football right now. The Rams are scary, dude. They're sneaky scary. I hope we get someone worth taking at 6. All right, we'll get to that here in a minute. Give me a minute. He used to play for the Raiders. I'm cool with drafting the receiver from Arizona. Y'all really liking that dude? Yeah, the pickings are small at free agency. That's what I'm saying, bro. They're rough. It's rough. Very, very rough. Um, let's see if I can narrow this down to what do you say our biggest need? What's our biggest need besides quarterback? What is our biggest need right now? You think it's running back? You think it's a shutdown corner? Do you think it's linebacker? This takes forever. I'm gonna look at running backs. Y'all are too slow. The delay is too slow. The delay. Holy shit! How long is it gonna take to filter? All right, let's remove this until that's done filtering. Try to look at running back free agencies, but there's a lot of talk about Najee Harris, and I know Najee Harris. 1,000 yards every year he's been in the league. That's more than Josh Jacobs did. No, he's never had a 1,600 yard season, but they share time, right? He has another running back over there with him that gets not a lot of carries, but enough to get some points in fantasy football. So the guy's getting enough reps. He's making a difference, and he's taking reps away from Najee, I think. But this man has been a solid back since he's been drafted. He didn't fumble the ball one time this year. That's crazy stats. Is the money going to be crazy wild? I don't think it is. But you look at what Saquon got, which was what 12, 14, something crazy, and you look at what Josh Jacobs got. I mean, what 8, 9, 10? Like, would you pay that money? Arnie, what's good? What's good? What's good? I mean, would y'all pay that much money for a Najee Harris? Would you pay him? Sign him to a 3-year deal for say 27 mil or 25 mil, 26 mil. Do you think he's worth that type of money? Wide receiver and running back. Well, if this slow ass thing ever loads, filtering. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. Biggest needs are a stout guard. I think they're like I said, we just talked about a couple guards that in free agency. I really think the Cowboys guard, you know, been killing over there. Zach Martin since he was drafted. Wasn't he drafted by the Cowboys? Or I don't. Anyway, the dude's a beast. But I think there's a couple guards in free agency, and there's also some guys that are some backups that I was looking at that I'll pull up probably in my next live. But there's a couple of backups on some teams that have pretty solid offensive lines that don't get no playtime either. That might just need that next step. Also, um, what the hell is his name? Jenkins. Jenkins from the draft 2 years ago, a tackle from shit, I can't even remember. But dude is going to be, which I don't, how the hell is a free agent? It was only the draft. I don't know. But anyways, that dude is going to be a free agent. He's a natural tackle, plays guard. He's got that mean, intensity, tenacity, plays like JPJ, firing off the ball, looking for somebody to hit constantly. I think that would be an insane, crazy pairing with those two. Actually, let me see if I can find it on here real quick. Trevor Jenkins, that's his name, I think. I don't know how the hell he's a free agent. He should still be under a rookie contract, Tevin Jenkins. All right, so that shit is still loading. Jesus, it's the worst app ever. All right, so somebody was talking about, you know, Tatarion McMillan. Oh my god, that just messed up my whole damn screen. All right, let's stop doing that. That was horrible. What the hell's going on with my computer? So, draft scenarios. Draft scenarios. This is how I feel the first round, the first five picks could go. And it could leave us with a quarterback. It could leave us with a running back. I mean, not a running back. It could leave us with a defensive end. It could leave us with a corner. It could leave us with a lot. But there's been a report out um, by what is it? Oh, by the Sporting News. So they had their latest mock draft has the Titans taking Travis Hunter at number one. They have the Browns taking Tatario McMillan, T Mac, at number two. I thought that was absolutely wild. With all the players on the board, with all the positions the Browns need, but I guess they do kind of need that number one receiver, and that would definitely fill a need. But to take them in the first round with all the receivers, to me, is just wild. I know the size at 6'6", but damn. Anyway, number three, the New York Giants select Shador Sanders with the third overall pick. Number four, the New England Patriots select Abdul Carter, Penn State. And then the Jacksonville Jaguars at 5 take Will Campbell at a LSU tackle. So, with that being said, and damn, how the chat go so far? I was caught up to it. Son of a bitch, y'all quick. With that being said, Travis Hunter, McMillan, Sanders, Abdul Carter, Will Campbell off the board. You're on the clock. Who do you pick? And no, I'm not giving you names. You should know. Come on, man. Pull up your draft boards now, for real. I'll give you some names. Actually, shit, let's just do this. Did this ever stop loading? Fuck no. Let's find the draft board. And man, I hate doing mock drafts this early, especially when we have no idea who our coach is going to be. But I just want to see what the options are. And it really doesn't matter. I don't think, in the first round, who our coach is going to be, because most of the time they're going to take best player available for a position of need, right? That's just 99% of the time the way it works. Let's go with this NFL Network one. Can I pick all teams? Yes, all. Actually, yeah, fuck it. I'll just take all. Sorry, man. It's going to take me a minute. It's not letting me pick all. I'm going to select each damn one. If this doesn't work, I'm going to be pissed. All right, let's pull this up somehow. We get to the chat caught back up. Um, Rebel is a genius. Jeff is an OG. Appreciate you, my guy. Appreciate you, my guy. What else we got? Salute, salute, salute. Just got to get Ashton Genty at 6. Would you take that man at 6? Even after the playoffs and the way he was just shut down? Um, Harris is worth it plus Henderson and Scatterboo as backups. How would you rate that running back room? I mean, damn. Who wouldn't rate that running back room top of the line? If you got Najee Harris, who's had 1,000 yards, every year he's been in the league, and then you bring in a guy like Scatterboo behind him to free him up and take some reps away. I mean, that's just crazy, dude. Tevin Jenkins, right guard, is a bully. Yeah, that's who I was talking about. You know who I was talking about. We just need an O line match. Sixth, Will Johnson, McMillan, or Abdullah. I like Will Johnson. I really think we need a shutdown corner. I think that's the best corner in this draft. I mean, that's who I would go with. That's my shit. But thought the Browns take a quarterback. I mean, I know their quarterback's hurt, but they do have that kid they drafted out of UCLA. Like he's got some time, a little bit here and there. Jenkins drafted in the second round. That's why he's a free agent, only 26 years old. Okay. So yeah, man, Tevin Jenkins is a dog. Like I was saying, the Raiders should have drafted that dude. He was there in the second round. They didn't take him, of course, as always. Death Vader Carter. I think Abdul Carter's a beast, bro. I think he's one of my favorite players in college right now. That kid, he reminds me um he reminds me a lot of players, but he reminds me a lot of Malcolm Kuntz with his, that speed on his get off, his bend, like dude, his twitch. That man, like, and Kuntz has all of that. That would be nasty to pair those two up. Good lord. But yeah, I like them dudes for sure. All right, let me see if I can pull this up. Screen. Mock draft simulator. Chabow. Am I on the clock? I don't know. All right, so what I say? They picked Travis Hunter. Oh, no trades, no trades, no trades. Damn, that's fudge. All right, I just wanted to see if this worked, but if we were sitting at number 2, I just want to bring this up because I mean, this is not a bad. If we were at number 2 for one spot, we could have got their next pick down from the Giants, their 34th pick, a first in 2006 and a second in 2026. Like, man, crazy, crazy. But I'm gonna reject that. The Browns took, who did I say? McMillan. Draft McMillan. What the hell? Did I not? Oh, well, the Giants took Shador for me. Did I not pick the Giants? That's crazy. All right, these fools took Abdul Carter. That was wild. So obviously, looks like Shador's going to the Giants because that was the one team I didn't pick, I guess. And the Jags took Will Campbell. All right, not Johnson, Campbell, LSU tackle. Boom. All right, so that's better. Now, try this shit again. Can y'all see this shit? Because I can't see it. So the Raiders are on the clock, unfazed in the building. AP pulled a Levi Smith on us. Come on, man. Where you been, my guy? Where you been? All right, so this is what we got on the board. We have wide receiver Luther Burden, 15. Wait, that's not it. We got more. I was going to say, that's not it. All right, so on the board, Mason Graham, Ashton Genty, Cam Ward, Mikhail Williams, damn, Malik Starks. I mean, we have safeties, but that's nasty work right there. Will Johnson, Nick Scorton, James Pierce. Man, I kind of like that kid too out of Tennessee, bro. He tore it up in the SEC. Calvin Banks Jr., Luther Burden. That's, I mean, unless y'all got someone I'm missing, those are the choices to 16. So who y'all got? Who y'all got? Who we taking? The fuck just happened? Cam Ward is the word. So you taking Cam Ward? Did winning help anything? Nope. Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. Unfazed. I'm glad you brought that up. Which I don't know what the point of winning was really when I just showed that if we were sitting at 2 or 3 and we really didn't want to go Shador Sanders, because he might be going to the Giants or to the Cowboys with his daddy. Damn, we could have got so much capital. So yeah, winning was just wild. All right, let's take Ward. Y'all taking Ward? That's who we're taking, Cam Ward. Oh shit! No, what happened? I don't want to trade him. Nobody else got anything. That's who we got. Cam Ward. All right, Cam Ward. Can I simulate the rest from here? All right, this ain't gonna work for me because I'm not simulating the rest of this. I mean, I'm not drafting the rest. But yeah, I was just trying to give you guys, you know, a little taste of who was going to be there at number 6 if the draft went that way. I mean, there's a very good possibility Shador Sanders or a Cam Ward could be sitting there at number 6. Do you pull the trigger and take a guy at number 6, knowing we have needs at running back, at guard, still probably at tackle, linebacker, corner, you name it, we still have needs. We probably need a fullback this year. I was saying all year long and the year before, why don't we have a damn fullback? Teams with fullbacks were just eating it up this year, you know, eating yards like Pac Man. So a fullback would be nice. Doesn't have to be a full time starting fullback, but just to have on the roster for, short yardage situations, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 3, shit like that, I think would just make a huge, huge difference for this team. But is there a lot of running backs this year? Oh man, there's crazy, crazy running backs. We about to lose half of the team in free agency. Yeah, we have 27 free agents, and it just depends on what the new coach wants, right? If it's a Ben Johnson, you have to look at this roster and be like, man, I can work with these guys. Most of them are young. I think the older guys are probably going to be down the road. But being the, second or third youngest team in the NFL right now, I think that gives us a big chance to, keep some of these young guys, let some of the guys go that, that aren't Raiders, that aren't helping this team. Because I feel there was a lot on this team that weren't, that just weren't contributing the way we thought they were going to be contributing, and they weren't helping the team the way we thought they were going to help. I agree. We need a fullback. I mean, definitely, definitely, we need a fullback. that's a must in the NFL. And it's one of the things I hated about Antonio Pierce was you want to run the ball, you want to be a smash mouth football team, but we need running backs, dude. We need a Richie. We need those smash mouth dudes, and we just we just didn't have that. I mean, we had what I running backs that I thought were better off as fullbacks. They can catch out of the backfield, they can block. They're pretty good at that. They just have no vision and can't cut. So yeah, I think running backs, running backs is the biggest need. Like definitely the biggest need. What else? What else? What do we got? The new coach will get his guys. I mean, that's what I've been saying too. It's going to be a full turnaround if you get a new coach, but I don't think completely. I believe there's a lot of guys, on this roster that's going to fit a Ben Johnson style system, that even going to fit a Pete Carroll system, especially on the defense. Okay, maybe not so many on the defense because he likes the guys that go boom, that smash mouth, smack you in the mouth kind of guy, and we just don't have any besides Palomau and maybe Hobbs, in the run game. We don't have any big hitters like that. So yeah, like I said, we talked about it unfazed, a couple months ago, and shit at the beginning of the season. Look for this team to be a totally new team if Antonio Pierce didn't work out, and we've seen Antonio Pierce didn't work out. I think a lot of his guys and a lot of those guys are going to be down the road. It's going to be rough, bro. It's going to be rough. I wonder if Ben J thinks he can do something with Aiden. Maybe get a top quarterback next draft. I'm sure. I mean, he does have a pocket passer right now, right? That doesn't really roll out of the pocket. He has a solid offensive line. They know how to keep that man upright where he can stand in there and do his job. So, I mean, it's a possibility. It's a possibility. I'm sure if he's taking the job or thinking about the job, that's definitely came to mind. When you have 120, projected $100 million, some say 120, some say 100. We have the third highest salary cap, and we have the highest salary cap out of all the teams looking for a general manager and looking for a head coach. So that's a big, big positive. Who's going to turn down a chance to come in, on a shopping spree, bro? Like, if you want to turn around an organization or buy a Super Bowl, like now's the chance to do it. So I think our stock went up as far as head coaching search, as far as GM search. And to me, if you could keep, Gus Bradley, I say Gus Bradley, Carter Bradley, on the practice squad, because I didn't think, he needs definitely needs to learn the NFL, needs to have more experience. But if you can keep that man on the practice squad and keep Aiden O'Connell and draft somebody like a Jackson Dart or a Riley Leonard, that I think probably by week 5 or 6 would take the job just because of their mobility. If they can pick up the speed of the NFL and read defenses, which I don't know. I've seen both of those kids, not Jackson Dart as much, but both of them throw interceptions. But they're human, right? Everybody thinks because you throw an interception, you're garbage. But when you throw 20 interceptions, 12 interceptions and 17 touchdowns in a season, not a very good year, right? All right, have a good one, my brother. Peace out. Much love. Appreciate you pulling up. What else we got? Let's pull up running backs. What's the best site for that? So yeah, dude, running backs is ridiculous, bro. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Um, no, that's what I wanted. Shit. I wouldn't, if somebody really sees that Genty is that guy, or if he just has crazy marks in the combine, in the vertical and in the long jump and all that shit, because that shit matters in the NFL. You know, if you just come out crazy like that, then you definitely have to think about taking a guy. When you're sitting at six, because you want blue chip guys, and if you're anywhere, there's probably what, maybe seven, eight, possibly 10 guys, that are blue chip guys. I think there's some sleepers, like the tight end, like the tight end from Penn State. I mean, damn, that dude could definitely shock some people, and could be another, Gronkowski, Kittles, Brock Bowers type. Like that dude's a freak of nature too. Got crazy hands, and there's a lot of teams that need tight ends. So look for that to be another. I mean, Brock Bowers, we thought was gonna go way before we got to pick him at 13, right? Were we at 13? Whatever we were at. Everybody thought Brock Bowers was gonna be before that, but the tight ends in this draft, I think they're a little bit lower on the board. Damn, Caleb Johnson moved up to the third best. All right, so I don't think this is gonna work because you can't see with all these ads. Fucking ad after ad after ad. Right? That kid, I mean, dude, he's athletic as hell. Dude, he could throw the ball, he could run the ball, he could catch the ball, he could block. That dude is a athletic freak of nature, bro. Absolutely freaking nature. What about Sam Darnold? Unfazed? Sound like Brady wants any younger quarterback to sit a year or more. I mean, that's been the talk, and that's Brady's said it. He said it over and over again while he's commentating games. He spoke about these guys not getting to learn the NFL, thrown into a fire, and you know maybe he's talking about Aiden O'Connell in that. Maybe he's like, damn, some of these guys, don't really get a chance to learn and have way too high expectations, and when they don't do good, people are like, damn, we need a quarterback of the future. But I said this before, Aiden O'Connell, if you look at his last 6 games last year and the last 4 games this year, when it matters, right? In December, in crunch times, December and January, when the games count, that man threw 15 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. So, you know, it could be looked at. You put, a Higgins around that dude with a Brock Bowers, and you give him a running game, you know, say Najee Harris, you bring in a Najee Harris with the Aiden O'Connell, and you beef up that offensive line where that man has 4, 5, 6, 7 seconds like Jared Goff to stand in the pocket, like a Patrick Mahomes to just stand back there all day and decide who he wants to throw it to. Come on, it could Aiden could kill it, bro. It could happen. Could happen. Especially if we can't get our guy in this draft and they decide to wait till next year, because Drew Aller going to be in the draft. They might just be like, damn, let's wait till next year. But then you're going to have to move up for that guy or have another shitty season. And who wants another shitty season, bro? Who wants a shitty season? I like Donner, but I would have to give AOC his shot to compete. Oh, wait to compete and play college. I mean, I think Aiden O'Connell could definitely compete with Sam Darnold. If you put Aiden O'Connell with that offensive line, with that coach over there, with that structure, with the McCown as a quarterback coach, and give him one offensive coordinator, one head coach for 2-3 years, come on, dude. It would be a totally different story. Like this man has had to go through way too much shit. Booger made more money than Darnold. Dude, he made more money than Sam Darnold. He made more money than Justin Fields. He made more money than than Russell Wilson. He made more money than somebody else, another guy that played a whole bunch. So yeah, dude. Hey, shout out to Gardner. Hey, he got his money, right? He got his money. It cost him, a busted up shoulder, but he got paid to throw interceptions. Then that sucks. Hopefully, we don't make that same mistake, bro. Got to draft at least two offensive linemen this year, third, 5 rounds or higher. Agreed, agreed. I think we need, offensive linemen every year and until we get those guys, depth. You see, I don't know what team it was. I think it was the Rams. I think no, maybe it's not the Rams, but one of the teams in the playoffs, which we'll get to the playoffs here in a minute. But one of those teams in the playoffs had kept putting in, a sixth offensive lineman. They were putting in a sixth tackle and running a jumbo set, and they were just killing it over and over again on that jump. I think it was the Bills, and they've done that shit all year long. So, you know, the Raiders tried that with Munford, and it didn't work out very well. But if we can get more athletic guys like that and get some dudes, I think with Brock Bowers, bro, you just need a guy that can get him the ball and an O line to protect him. And I think we have that O line if we just had a running game. If we had a solid running game where teams were scared and we're like, all right, we have to stay in this zone because if we come out of this zone and stack the box, they're going to throw all over us. And if we don't stay in the zone, they're going to run all over us. But you can disguise zone and disguise blitzes. But I think teams weren't scared. They didn't have to blitz a lot unless they were constantly just trying to pressure Aiden O'Connell, which they did in the third or fourth quarter, and Gardner Minshew. But a lot of teams they didn't blitz a whole lot against us because they weren't scared of the running game. We had no running game, and they're like, man, all these guys are going to do is pass the ball, and it's Brock Bowers or Jacoby Myers. So when you're one dimensional, bro, you ain't winning shit in the NFL. Carson Beck making more than a lot of these NFL quarterbacks. Dude, most of these guys in college are making a lot more than these quarterbacks. Justin Fields, what do you make? They signed him to a $4 million deal or something. So you got guys in college that are backups making more than some of the NFL quarterbacks. Which is 100% wild. But, my guy Unfazed made a good point is, what did winning do for Antonio Pierce? How did winning help Antonio Pierce? It doesn't mean, it doesn't matter how it helped Antonio Pierce. The fact is, why were we winning at that point? And me, I'm just win baby all the time. However, at that point when it's just absolutely stupid and you're trying to get a new head coach and you're trying to get a new GM and you're going to blow it up, what's the point of dropping to 6 when you're already sitting at 1 or 2? That shit made no sense absolutely whatsoever. For Mark Davis to say just win baby, we don't care about the record, gave Antonio Pierce false hope. I thought it was bullshit how they did him. But on the other hand, I'm kind of glad the season went down the way it did. And hear me out. No, I'm not glad we won 4 games and was 4-13. Had the worst running fucking back flipping running back room in the entire NFL, maybe in the history of the NFL. No, I'm not happy about none of that shit. But I am happy that Mark Davis, Tom Brady finally was in his ear enough, to smarten the man up to be like, all right, this is not the way we need to go. And we need to find out where we're going, which direction for the long term. And, Antonio Pierce might could have been that guy. He might have been a great coach. But if you want to build the future, you need guys on the same page with the same vision. And Tom Telesco, Antonio Pierce, and Brady and Mark Davis. Mark Davis and AP might have been on the same page, but the four of them were not on the same page. And then you have Champ Kelly in the mix, and then you have Richard Seymour in the mix, and you throw all that into a bundle of guys that have different visions, and the discipline factor. You have to throw in the factor that we had two games completely entire NFL game with zero penalties. Only the second team to do that in like 40 years to have one game with no penalties in a season, but we had two. So this team was disciplined, and I think a lot of us had false hope, including Tom Brady and Mark Davis, who decided to go with Antonio Pierce, that it was still going to be a disciplined team. We were going to not be busted for drinking and driving, having guys, doing stupid shit, late for meetings, all that stupid shit. Have guys complaining because, there's no stability, there's no accountability. And I think that hurt Antonio Pierce more than all is when they had the meeting like they did, when Dick Daniels was coach and they were on a losing streak and they had that meeting and everybody put all their cards on the table, no pun intended, Vegas. It didn't work out. It didn't work out for Dick Daniels. Everybody pointed fingers at him, and he was out the door. And I don't know why Antonio Pierce would be like, okay, let's have this breakdown meeting and let everybody air out their, venting. And I think that was the straw is when the reports came out that, people weren't happy, and even the guys that went to bat for the man still weren't happy. I think that said it all for Antonio Pierce. And, I think they started looking then. Why they waited so long and let him come out and do an interview, I'll never know. Nobody will ever know. It's the Raiders, and I think they just like being the talk of the town and staying relevant and being in the media. But my guy Shane was good. So yeah, I thought all that shit was wild. I don't even know what I'm saying, but I think it was needed, right? I think it was needed. Whether Antonio Pierce got a fair shot or not, whether Tom Telesco gave him the pieces he needed, you know, it didn't look good. We digressed. Aiden O'Connell digressed. He got worse under a guy who was supposed to be knowledgeable, have experience. Yes, it was only 2 years, but he had other experience in the NFL, which leads to me to another question is, Getsy, the same thing. He's been all these positions that have been Johnson has been. No, they didn't have the greatest offense, but he did damn good at his positions when he was in Green Bay. And then you go to the Bears and they're like, oh well, it's Justin Fields, it's Justin Fields, it's Justin Fields. And then this guy comes and gets an OC job and just is just horrible. And everybody goes backwards. I mean, everybody on the roster on the offense went completely backwards. It's so bad that Devontae was like, bro, I'm leaving. I'll go freeze my balls off in New York or wherever they send me just so I don't have to deal with this. So it was definitely needed. And, I know there's a lot of people butthurt because Antonio Pierce was dead wrong. But the writing was on the wall. I mean, longest losing streak in a season, 10 games, is not the way to go. Putting in a quarterback, whether it was your idea or not, but there's been, reports out saying that it was not Tom Telesco that had anything to do with Gardner Minshew starting, that it was the offensive coordinator and the head coach, that Tom Telesco and Mark Davis didn't have any say. It had nothing to do with pay, that it was up to the dudes running the show. So, with that, with the personnel, with the bad calls, I thought for the future, this was definitely the right move. And, hopefully we continue to make the right moves. And if we get a guy like Ben Johnson, I hope and pray that this dude does everything in his power to turn this team around to keep this job, because without stability, man, without continuity, without consistency, we just can't grow as a franchise. We can't be relevant anymore. Like we are the losing franchise in the history, and I know everybody in this chat, including me, used to make fun of teams like the Detroit Lions, you know, like the Browns, that like these teams that the Patriots back in the day that hadn't made it to the playoffs in 20 years. Well, karma's a bitch. We are that team now, and I just hope that this is the right direction. I hope that, and I believe in my heart that it will. Whether I like Tom Brady or not, whether I forgive him or not, that's not that doesn't matter. It's the minds, the intelligence in the building, I think is going to make a big difference. The people that are in Mark Davis's ear, you know, instead of the people that were in his ear before, I think are more relevant when it comes to football, to building a team, to building a franchise, and to put the right pieces of the puzzle together. Because bro, we've been doing this puzzle for shit. I don't know how long y'all been doing it, but I've been trying to put this puzzle together my whole life. Like, and as soon as you think you have the puzzle together, damn, somebody knocks the fucking thing off the board, and you got to start back over the whole puzzle together. So hopefully it's the right moves. And what with the right minds, if they can get this dream team with Spytech and Ben Johnson, and even if it's not Ben Johnson, I'm not mad with Pete Carroll. A lot of people say his age and blah blah blah. If that happens, that happens. Then maybe you put somebody that he brings in, because I'm sure the guy he brings in as offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator are going to be plenty experienced in the NFL. Going on an hour and a half. It is an hour and a half. All right, what else we got? I'm gonna get off here. Unfazed says, what do you say? I don't know. Who knows? No wide receiver one, no running back, and struggle on the offensive line. Made Brock shine and did okay. Yeah, yeah, you could say that, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I think Brock Bowers would have had a better year if we had a running game, if we had somebody else to take the pressure off him, because we could have ran more pick plays for him, more plays where they weren't sitting in a zone having three guys come to him as soon as he made his break. On a lot of games, they were they had two guys spying that dude. So I think a running game would have maybe helped, and a consistent quarterback, a quarterback that could have got him the ball. He did have three quarterbacks. He did have two offensive coordinators. Another another rookie that comes into the building and has no stability, doesn't know what it's like that dude's had the same coach all through college, the same offensive coordinator all through college, and then you come to the Raiders and it's a different face, and every aspect pretty much except for your tight end coach. So we can't keep doing that to those rookies. And shout out for him being that strong, for never hitting a rookie wall, and for all the accomplishments Brock Bowers had with two offensive coordinators, with three quarterbacks, with one that was just not the guy, bro, for the system, didn't work in the system, was a deer in the headlights all year. And for Brock to break the receiving record, to break the rookie catch record, to break the rookie yards record, to break the Raiders records with three quarterbacks, I think should be more looked at than what he's getting looked at for rookie of the year. And you could say Jaden Daniels, but you can also go over there and look at Caleb Williams' numbers compared to Jaden Daniels. Look at the Bears season, but compare their numbers. They're not very different. Everybody says Caleb Williams is a bust. Caleb Williams was trash. He should have never been a first round pick. Bro, I don't know what everybody's seeing. So I encourage you, when you hop off here, just ask Siri or Google. Say, hey, can you compare? No, don't compare. I was not talking to you. Just ask, compare, Caleb Williams to Jaden Daniels' numbers, rookie career numbers, and bro, they are not far off. So to have a guy that did pretty much the same thing Jaden Daniels did, but on a lesser team. He did break the was it the rookie record for rushing record for having over 4,000 yards or whatever, which was Lamar Jackson or Michael Vick or whoever's record he broke. But he broke one record. Like that to me, that's not it. He wasn't better than he was better than a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL, but there was still like five or more quarterbacks better than Jaden Daniels this year. There was no tight end better than Brock Bowers as a rookie. There was no tight end ever better than Brock Bowers as a rookie. And I think that should hold a lot more ground than it's holding for, the way they're looking at Brock Bowers. And yeah, AOC, dude, of course, he makes a lot of people shine. Look, I mean, come on, he got Jacoby Myers to 1,000 yards, and the man missed what 2 or 3 games, like, and his season was nothing when Gardner was in there. So just the little games he played, like, I dig Aiden O'Connell. I just don't think he's not the solution, bro. Unless he can like overnight become mobile and become that guy. He just scares me, and I think I think the announcer said it best when he said Bambi on ice, bro. Like the dude, he just gives me a heart attack every time he runs. Now maybe in the off season he can, you know, get with Tom Brady and get that Tom Brady coach in the building. Put some muscle on because shit, Tom Brady's still jacked for as old as he is. If you can get that workout regimen, which I thought he had, I don't know, but it might help the man. But he's definitely not going anywhere. He definitely needs to be in the building as a backup and compete for the job, no matter who they bring in. But not a biased competition. And I think Antonio Pierce didn't really know, what quarterback would system because of his inexperience, and I think that hurt him too. Um, Gotta go. Catch you on the next time. Take it easy, my guy. Raiders. That's my guy Shane say. Rebel, I'm excited for the Raiders are going to get better. We are going to trade for Pickens since Steelers didn't get rid of him. I would trade for Pickens in a minute, bro. That man is a dog. He makes some crazy catches and way underutilized, in my opinion. Like, if they just had had a guy that had a cannon for an arm that could get him the ball, that team would be scary, bro. Team would be scary. Rebel, how are you? I've been better, my guy. I've been better, bro. All right, peace out, my brother. You good? You good? Cool. So, all right, man. I appreciate everybody showing up. Make sure you pray for LA. Damn, there's still 17 people in here. Shit, I might as well stay on. What else y'all want to talk about? We gonna sign Justin Fields? I don't know why it would hurt. I mean, I don't know how it would hurt, but I think with the way he performed this year, it's not going to be $4 million a year. I think he's going to have that Baker Mayfield effect. The Tampa Bay Bucks signed Baker Mayfield to $4 million after he left the Rams in the Sean McVay system, which I thought really turned around his career. Just the 1 year he was there. So, I mean, I don't know. I think he's going to want that Baker Mayfield money. I think he didn't put up the numbers Baker Mayfield did, but if you look at the games he played at the beginning of the season, he had that team rolling and he had them set up to make the playoffs, and they handed the reins over to somebody else. So I think Justin Fields is probably going to be looking for a little bit more money than he got this year. And I mean, why wouldn't he, right? Um, Rebel, can I ask you a question on here or on social media? Uh, I don't know. You can ask it on here, bro. I haven't checked my email in a minute. Sorry, I've been busy as hell, dude. I had a family death. I've had Snow, crazy shit going on. Sicker than a dog. Damn toothache again. Like, I need to get all these teeth pulled out of my damn mouth. All right, what was I trying to do a minute ago? Oh, I was trying to pull up running backs. All right, that's what the hell I wanted to do. Running backs in the building. All right, pull up this one, and I don't know which one. This one. All right, these flipping ads are crazy. All right, we know Ashton Genty's stats. That man had more yards after contact than anybody had rushing, like except for one dude, I think. Um, yeah. So Ashton Genty, of course, 5'9", two. What the? Hey, dear customer, I don't even have AT&T, bro. What are you talking about? Oh man, I don't want to draft. I just want the numbers. Dude, this is garbage. All right, so Genty runs a 4.42. Crazy, crazy, crazy speed for a man 215 and 5'9", right? Then you got Omarion Hampton out of North Carolina. Another dog runs a 4.46 at 6 foot. Let me know in the comments, like, what do you prefer at running back? I know a lot of people say, those big guys with those long strides, like, I guess not Saquon, but like a Travis Henry. I think the shorter guys, they fit through the hole better, positive necessary. um, I think they get through there a little bit better. They're not as seen as much. They're a little bit more explosive. But them taller dudes, when they get in the open field, man, they are uncatchable, right? 100% uncatchable. Caleb Johnson at 6 foot 225, man, is just a bulldozer with a rock in his hand. 4.5 40, not that huge breakaway speed, but with that speed, that's one of those guys that if you get a step on somebody, maybe two, they ain't catching them, right? They ain't catching them unless they run a 4.2 40 themselves. They ain't catching them. Um, Dylan Sansom, 5'11", 190. You'd like to see him, probably be up there around 210, 215. Kind of just like a Singleton who decided to stay at Penn State. Just kind of, skinny and light, in my opinion. And you're going to take a beating at running back. But, if you got other running backs, if you're coming in as a rookie, you're probably not going to take that much of a beating. Then you got Jordan James, 4.5 speed, played for a team that, went undefeated during the regular season in Oregon, 210, 5'10". His speed is definitely a lot better when it comes to his size. Travion Henderson is dude, that's my guy right there. Like, after watching these playoffs and watching this man, the last 6 weeks, because I really don't watch many Ohio State games. I see whatever, highlights here and there. But man, the dude's not bad at blocking. He probably has to work on his pass blocking. But at 208, 5'10", runs a 4.39. The man is explosive as hell. Like, when he's coming out of the backfield catching the ball, or whether he's running up the middle or to the outside, this dude is dynamic and has that, take it to the crib potential every time he touches the ball. And then you got, whatever his sidekick, backup, whatever you want to call it. But Quishon Judkins, man, this dude too, 219, 6 foot, runs a 4.940, explosive as hell. This is another guy that needs to work on that pass blocking. Running backs are crazy, bro. Devin Neal is another bowling ball with that 4.5 speed. Can catch out of the backfield. I think he's one of the best, better blockers, not best, one of the better blockers, in this in running back class this year. Um, Nicholas Singleton might be a top number one first round pick, not number one overall, but might be a first round pick next year, like or the year after. This, I think he's a sophomore, so whenever this kid decides to come out, he's gonna be up there, man. This kid is special too. He's like a tight end kind of at 6 foot. Not the height, but 227. The man can block. He can catch. Just dynamic. They used him all over. Lined him up in the slot. Lined him up on the outside and the hashes. The kid just a baller, bro. Just a baller. Um, Brashard Smith, another running back from the Mustangs. Hold on, I gotta let this cat out, locked in the bathroom. What are you doing in there? Did you get locked in the bathroom? Dumbass. Oh meow, I know. You're not supposed to lock yourself in there. Um yeah, Brashard Smith is another pretty fast 4.4 speed, not too bad. Then you have, the all around can pass, can catch, can block, can run, Cam Scattaboo. Dude is a freak of nature. So that's the that's the top 12, right? That's just the top 12. And you got to say there's not 12 teams willing to take a running back in the first round. There's probably not even 5 teams willing to take a running back in the first round. So there's going to be a lot of running backs on this board. But let's just get even go further, right? You got Tahai Brooks, running back out of Texas Tech. Not very fast. Kind of more like a fullback to me. 230, 5'10". That could. I've been saying we need a fullback on this team. Maybe you think of bringing in a guy like that. Runs a 4.65, can catch out of the backfield. At 230, I mean, come on, you could be a fullback. Raheem Sanders is moving up on this list and probably will keep moving up if he, plays in any of those Senior Bowl games, Shrine Bowl, whatever. If he competes in the combine, which I don't know why he wouldn't. I think he's healthy. Former Arkansas Razorback. He killed it for us, decided to move on. His last year of eligibility, which sucked ass, but 4.40, 6 foot, 230 pounds. Dude is a workhorse. He's one of those guys where you could carry the ball 30 times a game very, very easily. And again, can catch out of the backfield, has that breakaway speed, and loves the contact, right? Will lower his shoulder. And at 230 pounds, 6 foot, I mean, come on, bro. That's pretty damn big. That's almost linebacker, edge type speed. So, size. Um, Le'Veon Moss, dude, it just goes on and on with these running backs. 215, 6 foot, runs a 4.240. A downhill hammer, very explosive traits, third down potential. Showing neutral free feel, a natural feel in zone schemes, and decisive cutting ability, which is something that we lacked all year long. Bashol Tootin at a Virginia Tech, another dog. Jaquindon Jackson, another Arkansas Razorback, 6'2", 230. His toolkit aligns well with the demands of a power-based NFL rushing attack. He's a bruiser running style with the ability, to move and cut, all that shit. Ollie Gordon. Dude, DJ Giddens is all the way at 20. So you can get a running back probably third, fourth round, you're still getting if a guy like Kyle Managi is on the board, just another crazy, crazy, crazy athletic freak. Georgia running back, Trevor Etienne. We've seen what his brother's doing in the NFL over there in Jacksonville. Another dog. And I think, what are we on, 22? And there's still guys that could be Damian Martinez. Damn, another guy projected with a high floor, um, who can step in and contribute immediately as part of a committee backfield. Which, like I said, if you get one of these solid running backs in the draft, we already have a Dylan Labe who's on a rookie contract. He's not going nowhere. Probably bring back a guy like Sincere McCormick. Let him battle it out, give him a shot. I think he doesn't deserve it, but I think he earned it. I was kind of scared with the two fumbles. At the end, one was on the sidelines out of bounds. Still, a fumble's a fumble. Got to hold on to the ball. It's the NFL. But yeah, Sincere McCormick probably come back, get a shot. Damian Martinez at 6 foot 232 is just nasty. Donovan Edwards out of Michigan, you know, was around in that Harbaugh run system. 6'1", 212, 4'5", 40. Henry Parrish Jr. Good Lord, there's RJ Harvey, UCF was another good ass running back all year. So, I mean, as you can see, as you can't see, flipping AT&T shit, as running back room is stacked, bro. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. Maybe, I mean, possibly even, you can go deep as fifth, sixth, but let's check out O line, because I think that's one of the big, 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 big needs for this Raiders team, is solidifying that O line, right? It all starts in the trenches, whether it's offense, whether it's defense. I just want to make sure what y'all can see, and that's not it. Come on, man. Offensive line, bro. Offensive line. All right, so we know the top three. Wyatt Millum has moved to the second. Damn. All right. So, I mean, that's a guy right there. You have Kelvin Banks Jr., to me, is one of those aggressive, get to the next level, climb the ladder, 5-10 yards down the field. The man's putting a body on somebody, shoving people out of bounds, has no quit. The dude's motor is very, very nice. 320, 6'4". Probably, definitely not bad. I don't know if he plays left or right. I'm not positive. I think he was on the left side. Then you have Wyatt Millum from Virginia Tech, man, 6'6", 217, offensive tackle. A lot of people say they probably move him over to guard, which, at 6'6", I think that's, I don't know. To me, that's just too tall. It makes it too hard on your quarterback. Throwing over these guys, you have to run out of the gun most of the time. What is fucking going on, bro? I think I've been hacked. This is crazy. Flip AT&T. Will Campbell, like I was talking about earlier, some people have him going in the top 5. I think they had him going to Jacksonville, which, I mean, I could see that. That dude's a beast. Played damn good in the SEC. When you have top notch you know, defensive linemen, all them dudes are NFL size, NFL speed, NFL ready. And the man held his own. He held his own. 6'6", 320. Josh Simmons, another dude at Ohio State. damn good. I think he was hurt most of the year though. Cameron Williams, offensive tackle. I don't know why they got him at fifth, but that dude is nasty, bro. He just plays mean, like meaner than I've seen a lot of guys play in college. Like this dude's just throwing bodies around. You know, there's no quit until the whistle. He's constantly finishing guys off. That's probably not the term I needed. Positive necessary. um, Tate Ratledge is another guard out of Georgia. I thought he got worked in the last game. I think I thought the defense, the defensive, the defensive front with the rotation and as many bodies they were bringing in, kind of worked that dude a little bit. But man, at 6'6", 320 is one of those big bodies that can definitely fill up a guard spot. I've talked about it a million times. Parham being 285 is more like a tight end. But this guy, Tate Ratledge, he has that intensity, that meanness, that will to win every rep. And I think those are guys we need. Booker out of Alabama to after Alex Leatherwood. Alabama guys just scare me. Joa Salvania, I don't know shit about that dude out of Arizona. Josh Curley Jr., 6'4", 315. I mean, most of these guys are tackles. I don't know how many of these guys you can move to a guard position. Like, that's going to be the question. Are they not fast enough? Do they not hold up at the guard spot? My opinion, what's good, my brother? You still owe me 100? Ain't no. Yeah, I got you. I got you. Yeah, he's definitely not taking us to a Super Bowl. He's probably not going to be starting next year. So I got you. Hit me up. Email me. Cash at me. Fucking flipping your email, bro. I got you. I told you I'll pay you, bro. Come in here talking trash. I told you I get you, bro. I know the bet. The bet was there's no way Aiden O'Connell's taking us to a Super Bowl. But as long as he's on the roster, there still is a chance, right? I'm just saying. Because I'd be pissed if I send you $100 and then you got to send it back. I'm just saying. He ain't taking us to no Super Bowl, dog. I know. I got you, bro. Shane Butler, probably not. I want an absolute wrecking ball at running back. Yeah, Scatterboo is definitely that guy, bro. All Ashton Genty, but there's a lot. There's a lot of power running backs. These guys ain't afraid to run people over. It's a good idea to move Oregon, the state. I mean, I don't know. Are you planning on moving to Oregon? You plan on going to college there? What's your plans? And then save up for Oregon College. I want to live in Oregon when I turn 18 and graduate. You might want to work on a job first and start saving now, bro. Like, because that shit's expensive. And if you plan on paying your own way through college, bro, that's just wild. So yeah, I seen your question. Bro, I don't know what your name is, so I'm not even gonna try to say that shit. We need a quarterback, O line, running back, wide receiver in this draft. You think all of them are gonna pan out? So, all right. With that being said, if we need a quarterback, running back, O line, and wide receiver, then who are you taking? Like, if you're gonna come in here and say what needs we have, who is your options? Like, who do you have in mind? If y'all didn't get Ben Johnson, who would you like? Um, I'm not mad at Pete Carroll. It just depends on his like I said his health. That's a big question. Is how long he can coach, and continue to do it, flying from state to state in a 17 game season, maybe even longer because they might extend it this year. Who knows? So I wouldn't be mad at Pete Carroll. He's drafted guys like Richard Sherman. Traded for one of the best running backs we've had in a long, long time in a Marshawn Lynch. So you know, credited with the Legion of Boom. I wouldn't mind Pete Carroll. I wouldn't mind Pete Carroll. His age, scares me a little bit. I wouldn't mind Todd Moken. He's been around for a while. I think the Ravens offense, the way they're running the running game is it a contribute to him? I don't know, but I talked about it in the beginning of the show. I don't know if he was in here, but I think the Raiders are really, if they're putting all their eggs in one basket for Ben Johnson, I think it's really going to hurt them in the long run because like you said, Salah, Munkin, all these guys have other interviews in other places, and I believe Pete Carroll interviewed for the Chicago Bears job today, and he spent the whole day yesterday in the facility with the Raiders. The Ben Johnson didn't go very well with Chicago, so that's probably not going to be a thing for Chicago. But Pete Carroll is definitely in that mix. And then you have Robert Salah, I believe, is supposed to interview with the Raiders or has already, but I believe he interviewed with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and reports are that went pretty good. So if we wait until the playoffs are over and the Super Bowl's over, if Detroit makes it that far, how many guys are going to be left? We did the same thing last year with the offensive coordinator position. We thought we had an offensive coordinator, and at the last minute, he backed out. And, Ben Johnson did that to the Washington Commanders. I talked about it earlier. Like, Ben Johnson, you know, they thought that he was going to go to the Commanders, be their coach. And then all of a sudden, last minute, he said, I'm staying with the Lions. So, we can be in that same spot as we were with the offensive coordinator, where our first option decided he didn't want the job and went somewhere else. Our second option was already hired, and we had to go with scraps. D-Mokes in the building. What's good? So that's gonna hurt this. It's gonna hurt us, I think, waiting on Ben Johnson, especially if he decides, last minute that he doesn't want to leave Detroit, or if they get knocked out of the Super Bowl and don't win it, maybe he changes his mind and thinks that they're 1 year away from winning that chip. So there's a lot of scenarios. Dixon said, "Or what's good, my guy?" There's a lot of scenarios that we have to watch out and think about, and that's a big one. Is if all these coaches are hired, everybody said Vrabel was that number one guy. He's taking the Patriots job. Like I just said, Salah. There's reports that it went very, very well in Jacksonville. So a lot of these guys, are starting to disappear, and we could be one of those teams left out in the cold, taking scraps. Pete Carroll interviewed for the Chicago job. It didn't go very well with Ben Johnson. Maybe they pull the trigger right now and just offer Pete Carroll the job and, pay him whatever he wants so he doesn't go to the Raiders. And then we have no second option if Ben Johnson, decides to dip on us. And like I said, he has pulled that before with another team that waited and waited all year last year. And the reports were, we all seen him. He was going to be the guy in Washington, and it turned out he wasn't the guy. So Robert Salah might be gone. Ben Johnson is at the top of the list. I'm not mad at that. I'm happy with what Brady's doing, bringing in these guys. Um, they wouldn't have another interview if I was hiring. Who? Oh, they wait, what? None of them. Wait, what? I'm lost, bro. Who wouldn't have another interview? Johnson, Salah, or Martin? Oh, you just hire him right off the bat? You're saying? Elaborate, my bro. Elaborate. Yo, but I do feel Ben Johnson will be a good fit. I think he'll be a good fit too. I mean, you have a solid tight end. You have a young up and coming, offensive line with some key pieces. You have, a guy that could be a number one receiver or a number two if you get a number one. So, man, I think we'll be good. A Brady effect is a real thing. It definitely is a real thing, and I've talked about that on this channel. Before he got hired, when they were talking about bringing him in, how much effect will he have? And it's already had more effect than I thought because with his job at Fox, and we talked about that. Could there be, tampering issues and shit with him having to do the Detroit game with Ben Johnson being in the building and interview? So yeah, it's definitely effect, and more effect than I thought. I thought it would be too much on his plate to come in, fire Antonio Pierce, you know, fire Coupon Tom and Tom Telesco, not have a quarterback. Winning games really, really looks stupid as hell right now. Like, I mean, I know it's the nation and we all want to win all the time, but man, winning those games just look dumb, bro. Because unless, like I said, unless Shador and Cam Ward aren't their guy, maybe they have other guys in mind. Like I said this, about an hour ago, that the Raiders have been very, very closed when Tom Brady got in the building. Once he walked in that building, all these content creators with their insiders and all that shit have been wrong, completely wrong. Y'all can keep following them if you want to, but their inside reports have been garbage, bro, because they're not telling. There's nobody talking. Like, they're keeping it in house as much as possible. So, what do you guys say? Look at my response to your question. What question? Recently applied at McDonald's. Yeah, that's cool. But bro, if you're moving to a state like Oregon, McDonald's ain't gonna pay your rent. You have to have a roommate, a girlfriend to help, something, bro. Like, it's expensive out there. It's Do your research, my kid. Do your research. I love the ambition though. Yeah. I mean, you got a job, save up, but you better get to work because you're running out of time. Running out of time. No, I'm just kidding. Uh, can Johnson work with a rookie quarterback like a Kingsbury? Huh? We don't know that. We don't know. I mean, Ben Johnson could be the next Dick Daniels, bro. He can be a brilliant offensive coordinator and not know how to run a team or get the best out of his players. We don't know that. Like, he is inexperienced and he has no head coaching experience whatsoever. Todd Monken, on the other hand, he does have coaching experience. Wasn't he a head coach? I do believe. Monken is the top guy on my list after Johnson. And I think that's one of the reasons Antonio Pierce got fired, is because we had that question: could Antonio Pierce or the staff that he had, groom that quarterback? And unless Tom Brady, which I think is going to happen very, very soon, quits Fox to pursue this Raiders job cold heartedly 110% and give it everything he got, because let's face it, Tom Brady is a winner. He loves to win, and I don't see him doing nothing half ass. And right now, he's having to half ass the Raiders job and half ass his Fox job because he can't do, the full reports. He can't talk to the players. You can't do any of that shit because you work for the Raiders. So the fact that he's having to half ass all this shit, I think is going to eat at Tom Brady, and he's going to eventually say, the hell with it. I'm just running the Raiders organization, full on. And I thought it was funny that Rich Eisen said, with Tom Brady running the Las Vegas Raiders, I mean, with Tom Brady supposedly running the Las Vegas Raiders, like, and didn't even race the first part. So that tells you right there, like, he's got full control without them saying he has full control, because it's, there's going to be a clash with what he's got going on in Fox. So I just don't see that coming very, very close. The HC Monken Johnson would stay. What Johnson are you talking about? Ben Johnson? He is the first interview. Yeah, we were the first one to interview Ben Johnson. I think I don't know what. I'm lost somehow, but um, you didn't keep up before, and it cost you 100. Learn to listen. You didn't keep up before. Okay, well, I don't know what the fuck that meant, but I think I did keep up. You said Aiden O'Connell will never win a Super Bowl for the Las Vegas Raiders. I was like, I'll put 100 on that. You didn't say this year. I have a screenshot of it too. I'll find that shit and pull it up. So, um, yeah, it was dumb. I mean, I knew it was dumb at the time, but like I said, the reason I took the shit is because you said never, which I knew would give me a while as long as he was on the roster. Um, yeah. Dixon Snyder says, I think it'd be easier to get Ben Johnson if the Lions win a Super Bowl. I think it'll be easier too. I think it's going to take longer, and a lot of coaching jobs are going to be filled. And if he changes his mind at last minute, or they can't work out or get the terms right, then we're jacked. We're jacked. We're jacked. Um, but I'm right. I don't make content though. I don't know what the fuck you mean, bro. Did I miss a comment somewhere? Go back and read all your shit. Only trust if you lost. I don't fucking know. Flipping no, bro. I don't know. V Dog 13. Put this shit up there. Why did Tommy B want to be part of the Raiders? Out of all the other teams, it's not what? Oh, it's not complaining, just curious. Tommy B. Tom Brady? I've asked that question a million times in my brain, and I can't figure it out, dude. I have no idea, except for you can think of, the past legacy. Maybe he has an infatuation with, Al Davis, like Mark Davis has with him. I don't know. But the man is a businessman, and to me, it's all about money. And if you look at, the team that sells the most merch in the NFL, used to be the Raiders number one. I don't know where we sit now, with the Lions on their tear. The Cowboys always up there. The Chiefs winning all the Super Bowls, but the Raiders are always up there when it comes to selling merch. So, I mean, money, obviously, for one, you're part owner. This team has made, Mark Davis has turned this team around and made it, worth billions of dollars. So, I mean, for one, that's one. I'm hoping Tom Brady wants to be a part of the Raiders because he sees a challenge. I'm hoping Tom Brady sees a challenge, sees a team that just needs his vision, his leadership, his authority, his presence in the building. I'm hoping that's it. I'm hoping he wants the challenge to take a team from the bottom of the NFL, because we are at the bottom depths of the NFL, and build his legacy by turning this franchise around. And I don't think it's as much about the Las Vegas Raiders or Mark Davis as it is about Tom Brady. I think it's about his legacy, building his legacy, and proving to everybody that, it's not just football, that the man is damn good at everything he puts his mind to. I'm hoping that's it, bro. I'm hoping. I want to do my podcast on the Raiders in Oregon. Yeah, you could do that. Everyone knew Josh was a dickhead, though. Yeah, Dick Daniels is an idiot, bro. He just don't know how to talk to people. Great point. Everyone on BJ bandwagon, but nobody knows how he will pan out as the head coach. And yeah, we didn't. Everybody said the same thing about about Dick Daniels, about Josh McDaniels, and the guy was a genius when he was in New England, but when he was with the Donkeys, he was not. When he was with the Raiders, he was not. So not everybody has that head coaching ability. Like, I mean, there's been so many teams that have hired coaches that they thought were going to be that, next John Gruden, next, top, top, top head coach. And they turned out to be bust like some of the players they drafted in the first round. So, yeah, we don't know what this dude's going to be. Like I said, he came to Detroit with Jared Goff there, with Amar St. Brown, the top three running, the top three receiver, definitely top five receiver in the NFL, a damn good offensive line which he helped build, and a damn good defensive coordinator. And we've seen Jared Goff throw 5 interceptions in a game and them still come back and win the game. So that's not all offensive coordinating. That's head coaching to me. That's not all defensive coordinating. That's head coaching. That's a belief that Dan Campbell instills in this team that they can win no matter what. Because we've seen the Raiders fold every game this year after one turnover, whether it was a fumble, whether it was an interception. Even when we've had the lead, we turn the ball over and the team just folds like a lawn chair. This Lions team doesn't, and you have to accredit that to Dan Campbell's coaching, not to Ben Johnson's, offensive coordinating, not to the defensive coordinator. You have to accredit some of that to the head coach. So yeah, we don't know, and sometimes people just fit together, like Dick Daniels and Belichick. They just fit like a glove. Maybe it's because he listened to what he said. I don't know why they worked out. Maybe it's just because they had the same vision. But some people hit it off and work together great, and some people just clash and can't do it. So like, yeah, we don't know if this guy can groom a quarterback. He was a quarterback in college, so he's played the position. He was a quarterback coach, with a couple teams, so he's been there, done that. But we haven't seen anybody, he's coached come up and be anybody or do anything. So it's all a guess. I would not be mad at Pete Carroll just because of the experience. We know what we're getting with Pete Carroll. He's, he ran, not just wasn't the coach, but he was the GM, and the president. He did all that shit. He pretty much ran the draft. He scouted the draft. Like, Pete Carroll was involved in everything. So you know what you're getting in Pete Carroll. It's a guessing game with Ben Johnson, and I'm hoping they just guess right, bro. Like, I'm hoping he turns out to be that guy that everybody says he is. And if you put the right pieces around him, it's hard for him to fail, right? I mean, if you have what you need or what you believe you need to run your system and to build a franchise the way you want, if they give you everything you need, it's kind of hard to fail unless you're just very, very bad. Um, who do you think the next GM will be? I think it's going to be Spy Tech if it's Ben Johnson. Now, if it ends up being Pete Carroll, I think it's going to be a different story. I think Pete Carroll's probably going to want to have something to say, in that regards of being the GM also and the head coach. And he might, have his guy, but a lot of people have said, Agnew, the assistant general manager from Detroit. But I think John Spytek is that guy just because he's been around Brady. He's known Brady since Michigan days. He was the big reason that Tom Brady came to Tampa Bay and won a Super Bowl. If it wasn't for John Spytek being in the building, at Tampa Bay, Brady would have never went there. He probably would have been a Raider, and we probably would have won Super Bowls. But that's neither here nor there. So the Spytek relationship with Tom Brady goes back all the way to college, and it's continued on. So I think that's the guy. I think they're going to interview him, and I think it's kind of shitty that they can't have Ben Johnson, on the Zoom call or in the interview, because I think when you get those three guys in the building, to talk football, I think it's going to be a done deal. If they all agree they want the job, I think it's theirs. I think Spytek um, is damn good at his job. He's a big reason Tampa Bay won that Super Bowl. Just look at the free agents they helped bring in. Like I said, Brady wouldn't have went there if it wasn't for him. So I think it's Spytek. I think that's the number one front runner, and I think Ben Johnson will be in. If he's good with that. If not, he might have his own guys. But I think if he gets to sit down and talk to John Spytek like he did Tom Brady, I think those dudes will hit it off too, because they're just brilliant football minds with a lot of knowledge. At what point do we start seeing Tom Brady and Brock Bowers getting in reps in the offseason? That's not going to happen, bro. Brady is not coming out of retirement. Now that he's part owner, he can't. He can't. So he'd have to sell part of the team to ever do that. And, he's not going to be working out or helping anybody unless he leaves Fox. I'm not on the BJ train. I just want a coach that will help us win a Super Bowl. Come on, man. Everybody loves a BJ. I don't know. Nick from Philly, just to the playoffs. I'm down with that too, bro. Ben Johnson, we are talking about head coach. Yeah. What else would he be? Like, he can't make a lateral move. We can't take an offensive coordinator and make him offensive coordinator. I smoke weed too, bro. No, this season shows it. Shows what? My opinion. Are you drinking, bro? Who makes an opening bet like that? What are you talking about? I don't know. You stoned, I guess. No time limit, right? That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. I don't know why you'd make a bet like that, my guy. Uh, this probably means nothing, but earlier today, Las Vegas locally tweeted that Pete Carroll was looking for a house in the Henderson area. Hey, 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 hey. That's what. All right, so let's stop right there and talk about this for a minute. Let me start this so I know where the hell I'm at. Um, if Ben Johnson does take this job, you know, Pete Carroll could still be hired as the same job he had over there in Seattle as, head of administrations, and run that shit too if he does not, want to do the day by day coaching. And could you imagine having Pete Carroll as your GM or, head of operations, and having a John Spytek as your GM with a Ben Johnson and a Tom Brady in the building? To me, it's not even fair. And that's why teams and, reporters and all these people are panicking, and they're trying to get the Raiders for tampering because Brady contacted Ben Johnson's, agent, and they're going to do everything they can. And the NFL is going to do everything they can to keep them from putting this team together, because the title of this is Tom Brady's master plan. And I believe this is Tom Brady's master plan, is to put these guys all in the building, no matter what it costs. Money is no option anymore. Mark Davis has plenty of that shit. He can wipe his ass with $1,000 bills. Tom Brady has money, but they also have investors that are billionaires that just, bought 12% of the team also. So they have the money. And when it comes to general manager and a head coach and upper management, that's not part of your roster. That's the coach's or the owner's pocket. So when it comes to paying all these guys, the Raiders have the money to do it. And I've talked about the Raiders buying a Super Bowl on this channel the last couple of weeks. Could the Raiders just go out and buy a Super Bowl? And to me, If they keep all these guys in the building, it looks like that's exactly what they're trying to do. They're not trying to wait long term. They are trying to win now. So mark my words, if we keep all these dudes in house, look for us to be competitive right away, dude. Right away. I think they're going to bring in top players at every position that we can afford because we have the money, and that's the highest selling point right now is we have no GM and Ben Johnson can pick his GM and we have an open checkbook. Like it doesn't matter. They can pay that dude whatever he wants to get him here. The reports have been money is not an issue. If Ben Johnson is not the Raiders head coach, it's not because of money. So it would have to be because he doesn't want the job or they're not giving him, full control like he wants, or he found a better job. And I don't see a better job out there. I don't see a better job out there, really. With the money we have on the cap, with the players we already have in the building, I don't see a better job than what's out there. Tom Brady, I know. Tom Brady, I know why, sir. It's because he knows it's an effing fumble, and he admitted it. Right? He admitted it. It's a fumble. Like that's not going to change my mind. It's not going to get us a Super Bowl back that they took from us because I believe that was our year. We had the team to win a Super Bowl, and I believe they stole it. So I mean, he can never change that, bro. That's going to be on the bottom of my mind until we get another one. But it'll probably take two back to back to even think about easing that pain that I think about every day. What could have been us, could have been us. I think the Raiders need an Oregon QB because two time in our division have Oregon QBs. Come on, no, no, no. We are not taking that 5'10" quarterback, you know, who lost under pressure in the championship game because we have two Oregon quarterbacks in our division. No, but I like the way you're going, though. I like the way you think. Um, Ben Johnson won't start out with us that fast. We will need a couple years. I mean, we could need a couple years. We could, but you can also make the case. Michael Layer, what's good? You can also make the case that you know snap your fingers and it's done. Like just look at the Texans, right? They came in, they paid a bunch of money in free agency. They got their quarterback. They got a running game. They got shit going, and a lot of people thought they were going to have the sophomore slump and they wouldn't make the playoffs this year. They made the playoffs this year and they beat a team a lot of people didn't think they would beat. So it could happen. It can happen overnight. It's happened in the NFL with many, many teams. And when you have, key pieces like we have at center, at defensive end, at safeties, at corner, we have key pieces. We're missing some. But I think this year, with our losing and the injuries that we had, showed that we have depth on this roster that a lot of people said we didn't have depth. We had no depth on this team. And that's the reason that was the biggest need was depth. And, I think we have depth on the defensive line. I think the offensive line is weak. We need, as much depth. We got to get rid of Andres Pete. We got to get rid of Cody Whitehair. They should have already been gone and done. Get rid of those guys, bring in some stronger depth on the offensive line. But then when you look at everywhere else, we might need one receiver. We might need, one or two, probably two running backs. We'll probably get rid of everybody. But then when you go on from there, bro, the defensive line is stacked. We could run with the linebackers we have. We probably use somebody that can cover a little bit better, sideline to sidelines on the hashes and, past 10 or 15 yards that has some speed that can run with these tight ends or the slot receivers. I think that would help this team. But all those pieces can be acquired very, very easily when you have $120 million. So we can turn it around very, very quickly, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, he's going to want a couple years definitely to build for the long haul. I mean, if you're building for the long haul, then you're making smart contract moves, right? You're signing guys that aren't 35 to the biggest contract they've ever had in the NFL, right? Because we've done that plenty of times. You're not bringing in washed up quarterbacks or washed up receivers. You're bringing in guys that are going to help fill roles and fill holes. We have a ton of holes. I don't see it, bro. I don't see it. I don't see that many holes. Whoever our no C is better be good. Oh, I think, if it's Ben Johnson in the building, he's probably going to be calling plays. They'll just have a protege at OC. I want to win and get a Super Bowl win. Yes, thank you. We all do. He is too outdated. Who's too outdated? Pete Carroll? I mean, he might could be outdated. He might could be outdated, but it could be a lot to do with, upper management, him having too much going on when he was, with the Seahawks. They lost, a lot of turnover. I thought they did pretty damn good after the Russell Wilson trade, bringing in another quarterback right away. I don't know. I think Pete Carroll would be good. I just don't like the fact that it might, not be long term. And I think what the Raiders need right now is stability, and they need stability long term for, not just a year, not just 2 years, not 5 years. I want to be competitive every single year for the next 10, 15 years. I want to be that team like the Steelers that's in the playoffs every flipping year. Or if they're not, they're missing it by a wild card game. That's what we need. And I don't know if Pete Carroll, with his age, can be here long enough to give us that. But I have a feeling, like I said, they have a plan, and that plan might be to have all these guys in the building. You can make spots for them, right? You can make names. I mean, we made a position for Champ Kelly to keep him in the building. We can make positions for these guys. Uh, Better tell you who I'm talking about. This motherfucker. Um, my option, shut your punk ass up. You don't have anything about football. You're just some 16-year-old little girl. Why you getting on my opinion like that? Damn. Duck's house. No fighting in the chat. Come on. Be adults. Pete Carroll worries me as old as he is. Yeah, that's the only worry with Pete Carroll. And, my opinion makes a good point is he might be outdated. We've seen what the old coaches that we brought in this year did, in a Marvin Lewis, um, Tom Kaufman, who was on speed dial. It didn't help AP, right? It didn't help Antonio Pierce one bit. So you don't want Pete Carroll. Carroll is too Belichick. Yeah, but the one thing you could say about Pete Carroll, man, is he's loyal, bro. He's loyal as could be, right? He was what, 8 years, I do believe, at USC, and then he comes to Seattle and is there for another 13 or 14 years. 14 years, bro. That's loyalty. Like you know, you don't stay in a franchise or an organization that long if you're not damn good at what you do. I will support whoever we hire. Oh, Raiders. We bleed silver and black, bro. You really are that slow. You guys. I am that slow. Shit. How am I slow? I just can't see where the shit. And you don't make sense. Fucking go back and read your own shit. Make sense of it. I hope we get the same thing in Seattle. Hey, me too. Tom Brady should be smart and move and hire Spytek as GM, Pete Carroll as head coach, hire Ben Johnson as offensive coordinator, and it would be a dynasty. Well, unfortunately, we can't hire Ben Johnson as an offensive coordinator because that would be a lateral move, and you have to go vertical. You have to go up, so you can't go lateral unless he got fired by some crazy, crazy, wild thing. I would rather have Spytek as the GM, have Ben Johnson as the coach, and find a position to keep Pete Carroll in the building, just to have him in the building so he's in the war room during draft. So he's in the building to pick his ear during free agency because he knows talent, even at his age. Tom Brady has to do better than Mark Davis. Anybody has to do better than Mark Davis. Tom Brady knows football. Mark Davis has admitted a million times he doesn't. I'm hoping the Raiders do the right thing and hire a good coach. I hope they will, man. Raider die Raiders. What's good, my guy? Appreciate you pulling up. Don't forget Cohen from Tampa Bay as a backup plan. I like Liam Cohen, but they haven't announced that he's been brought in, have they? Because I looked and I didn't see it. And you know, another part. Thanks for bringing that up. But another part, 2 hours and 35 minutes. How do I always stay on so long? Jesus. But another good part, and I'm glad you brought that up, is what the fuck was I gonna say? I don't even know. Oh, um, the Raiders. If you go to their website and hit Las Vegas Raiders coaching tracker, it's not working, bro. They took that shit down. So that just might be something to look out for and to watch because, if they took down the coaching tracker, they might already have their coach in mind. And with that being said, I'm going to read these last messages and I'm going to get the off of here. We don't need block. What key pieces tell me more? What? I'm not reading your shit no more, bro. Cohen, I got that. Bye, Rebel. Got to go to school tomorrow. Appreciate. Have a good night, man. Learn, 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 learn. School starts at 8:30. Damn, that's late. We started way earlier. Talk to you tomorrow. Peace out. At least Vrabel went off the board fast. Yeah, that's a good thing he went off the board fast. But like I said, man, it, these coaches are dwindling fast. They're dwindling fast. Pete Carroll, age definitely is a factor. Get a young pup like BK or Liam, right? Tomlin in the pits. I keep saying Mike LaFleur, man. I like Mike LaFleur. Everybody talks about Liam Cohen and what he's done in Tampa Bay, you know, with Baker Mayfield, and I get all that. But Liam Cohen was let go by the Rams, and the man that took his place was Mike LaFleur, which is Matt LaFleur's brother, the coach of the Green Bay Packers. Also came from that, Kyle Shanahan, and both came from the Kyle Shanahan and McVay tree. And there's another guy, Ray Farmer, who also has a big, big part in the Rams, organization as assistant general manager. And if you could pair up a Ray Farmer with a Mike LaFleur, I think he definitely deserves an interview. I mean, the man has done just crazy, crazy work with the Rams this year. The injuries they've had, they started 1-4. They make the playoffs. They beat the 14-2 Minnesota Vikings. And why this guy is not on anybody's coaching list but mine just baffles me, dude. Completely baffles me. Duck's house. I bet I know more than you think. Damn, y'all are slow. Teams already signing players, signing new head coaches fast. Ezekiel to the Chargers. Yeah, but they didn't even use Ezekiel Elliott, bro. They signed him for the playoff run, and then they didn't even put him in when they had no running game, which has been the biggest part of why they've been winning football games all year, is because they were averaging 100 yards a game. And then you have a veteran like that who's been to the playoffs, who's been in those situations, and you bring him in and you don't even give him the ball. That's just crazy talk. By the time I was 16, I watched the Raiders win 3 Super Bowls. My opinion. Damn, you're older than me, bro. Shit, you probably got all that gray. Josh McDaniels' disaster should remind all of us that coordinators will not be king of the hill. Hey, I agree 100%. Unless they have that, that dog in them or that coaching gene in them. And I'm praying Ben Johnson does, bro. BJ will have the offense side covered, and I think he's a lack of wondering who is the DC will be. I think he's a lock too, bro. I think he's a lock for sure. Raider Nation 510, appreciate you. Cliff Kingsbury has not interviewed with a team. Yeah, I think that's wild. but they're still in the playoffs and they just played. And there's a lot of teams that probably don't want to do Zoom call interviews just because a Zoom call interview is like me talking to you, except for I can't see y'all. But like you don't know what a Zoom call is. But for those who don't, fuck it. And it's not very personal, right? You can't really get a feeling for somebody. You can't really get their body language. You can't see if somebody's shaking or you know looking away when they answer questions. So it's kind of hard to read somebody over an internet in a Zoom call. But yeah, I thought Cliff Kingsbury would get a lot, would get at least a couple calls, and I thought the Bears, with what he's done with Caleb Williams, would be one of them. And like I said, the playoffs aren't over, so once these teams start losing, I think Kingsbury will get some calls. I don't think he will be with us though. I don't think he's coming back here. Hope you're doing good this week. At Shane Butler, Jeffrey, my guy in the building. Uh, Chat staying and listen. What the flip just happened? Where did that go? Oh, chat staying and listening. God bless everyone. Rebel, sorry for losing GN. Hey, good night, my brother. Appreciate you. I thank you, my brother. Thank you. Yeah. Try not to think about that. Try not to think about that. Um, Damn, what was I saying? Uh, Mark is the only owner that didn't have air. Mark protected himself by Brady, made a wise investment. Oh, that was one of the brightest things Mark Davis could have ever done. And I think Brady did one of the wisest thing he could have ever done by calling Belichick and seeing who he can get in the building to help him with the coaching search because he doesn't really know how to hire coaches or general managers. This is the first time for Brady. So I think with him calling Belichick, Belichick said, call Jed Hughes. And he called Jed Hughes, and Jed Hughes, said, sure, I'll come in the building. So look for that too. What's good, Raider Ryan? Appreciate you pulling up. Um, I think Kingsbury likes Daniels and will stay with that kid. I don't know why you wouldn't, right? I don't know why you wouldn't. And if you could stay there and keep winning and, build your reputation back, I think it's the best thing for Kingsbury at this point. You don't want to leave Jaden Daniels after the first year and have him wrecked like, AOC, Caleb Williams, all these kids that, have two head coaches, two offensive coordinators running 3, 4 different systems their rookie year. And, you can be like Aiden O'Connell. You've played 17 games in the NFL and you've had 4 offensive coordinators, 2 head coaches, 4 quarterback coaches. So yeah, that's wild and crazy shit, man. Wild and crazy. My opinion, I was 14. We won our last Super Bowl. LO, I hope we get to see another. Right? I was 8 when we won our last Super Bowl, and I hope we get to see another too. A couple more. And I think Tom Brady is on the right path, right? He's setting us in the right direction. What he doesn't know, like a Antonio Pierce, he's not afraid to ask or to bring guys in and surround himself with guys that have the same vision, that see football through the same telescope as he sees it. And with that, I'm gonna get off here, man. 3 hours. I got to get some food. I appreciate everyone pulling up. As always, much love, my nation. Like, subscribe, follow if you don't already. I will be happy if we finish in a division. Baby steps. I'll take it though. As always, Purpo, my guy, you come in right when I'm leaving. Damn. Uh, I'll stick around for a second. James Furpo in the building. What's good, my guy? Where you been? My guy says, that's my worry on Ben Johnson. The why I stopped for cheering the Lions to win the Super Bowl. If they win, I didn't want him to run it back, right? I don't want him to win the Super Bowl because I want the head coach in the building right away. I want the head coach to get to work. I want him to pick through this roster, and you can't do that shit on a Zoom call. You can't do that shit hired by another team. And that's kind of one of the reasons I like, Pete Carroll or even a Salah. I don't know, how Robert Salah interview went, but I want this shit to be wrapped up as soon as possible. And, if the Lions keep winning, which I don't see them winning, I think the Rams are going to surprise some people. I've been saying it and I'm going to continue to say it. First time I seen you in the notifications and the feed. Damn, that's crazy. I'm on like 3 or 4 times a week, Furpo. So maybe unsubscribe and then resubscribe, or hit the notification button and or undo it and then hit it again. But if you're getting them now, I mean, don't. Maybe it's just YouTube not pushing my channel, because a lot of people tell me they don't get my notifications. And, I tried putting them up a day in advance. I tried putting them up 3, 4 hours in advance. But it usually works better if I just put it up, 30 minutes before I go live, or 40 minutes before I go live. I seem to get more followers and more people in here. So I think it's just YouTube not pushing my shit. So I apologize. Maybe I'll start doing a short or something, and try to let more people know. But it said you wasn't subscribed, so you did now. My guy, what? You wasn't subscribed to my channel? That's wild. But hey, I appreciate you subscribing. Hey, yeah, hopefully we'll see you in more lives. Definitely talk more football. Yeah, there's a lot of guys like, SoCal Raider, and dude, a bunch of people I talk to on a lot of chats that aren't subscribed to my channel, which is crazy. I don't know. I thought all y'all knew I was a content creator. um, at Jeffrey, we are awesome. Salah's going back for the second with the Jags. Yeah, it sounds like it went pretty good with the Jags, and that's one more coach off the list. So hopefully BJ doesn't do us dirty, man. Like he did the Commanders, make them wait, 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 and then change his mind and say, "I'm going back to the Lions." That's my biggest fear at this point, is the fact that the Raiders have all their cards on the table and everybody knows this is our number one guy. The fact that everybody's going to do everything they can to up the ante to make us pay out the ass for this guy, I think, and that's going to suck, bro. This is the first time you've been on my live, Purple? For real? Dude, that's crazy. That's wild, bro. I think there's a lot of people like that, like SoCal Sal and um, Wild Turkey. Like, there's a lot of guys that all eyes on G. Like, I think there's a lot of guys that don't know I do content. Some of them do, but I think there's a lot that aren't subscribed to my channel. But I will be back on tomorrow. We will do some more draft talk, and whatever news pops up. But appreciate y'all pulling up. As always, much love. Raiders. Peace, y'all. Have a good night. Stay blessed. Like, subscribe, follow. Hit them likes. Appreciate y'all. Raiders Unleashed.